Freaky Friday on Chicago Hockey Radio. Off the Rails Friday.
Freaky Friday.
Something different here.
Everyone up.
We have a very special guest, Greg Boysen, in studio. Thank you very much for joining us. Currently a free agent in the hockey journalism and podcasting space.
That's right. Anybody can hire me for lots of money.
Yes.
That sounds good.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. Yeah. This is really fun. Greg's going to join us for the Hawks Hour, and then we will release him for NHL Hour of today's episode. Obviously, we're going to do everything we got to do first. Make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. Make sure you are following us on Instagram. Enter our Gretzky's Basement giveaway. Only a couple of days left in that. If you would like that limited edition item we were giving away.
Really easy to win that too.
Really
you just gotta
easy.
tag 3 people in our post.
Our Winter Classic vlog will be coming out this afternoon, so be on the lookout for that in the evening time. Yeah, it's really good. Raven crushed it on that. Really nice job. Thank you for putting in the work on that one.
Thank you, Raven.
So everybody be on the lookout for that. And then we are live streaming the game tomorrow night against the Edmonton Oilers, so that should be really fun. Thanks to everybody that joined the live stream Wednesday against the Avalanche. So that was a good win too for the Hawks.
Yeah,
but
we needed that. The boys needed that.
Justin, you're 2-1 in live streams now, aren't you?
I guess I'm the good luck charm. Yeah, not as much as Lee over there, but I think you're 3-3-1. So I guess that's not too bad.
Yeah,
for
I
this Hawks team.
think I'm 500 honestly on the live streams, which is pretty crazy considering how bad the Blackhawks record is.
Yeah, last place team. So there you go. I guess we should live stream more games.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so live stream, Winter Classic vlog. I think that's all the plugs. Join the Discord. We are going to do mailbag questions at the end of we do questions on Fridays, Greg. So at the end of the hour, we will do questions from everybody. We got a bunch from Discord and Instagram DMs. Make sure you send us in your questions and they will be answered on Fridays. All right. I mean, where do you want to start? I mean, like... Do you want to start with?
I'm not the host anymore.
That's so true.
Yeah, we gotta take
it's
over.
your show, guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's just how are you feeling about the team? You know, the coaching change is about a month out. You know, you think the team's playing better under Sorensen?
They're playing different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different, which can be better at times. You know, it's crazy that about a month ago I talked to you guys, and you know, Luke Richardson and I both had jobs back then, and now you know, he's doing the podcast circuit too. But
Yeah, you guys should start a show together.
What is
Yeah,
Luke
that'd be
Richardson up to? I haven't heard from him in like a
man,
month.
he's eating his all brand and working out.
Yeah,
and
that's
Exercise
exactly
and
what I
wine.
said on
collecting those checks. He's still getting paid.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
He's
That's true.
in a much different situation than I am. He's got minimal worries.
Yeah.
The teams, you know, you change coach. At the time, it was like, okay, like I never thought this team's biggest issue was coaching, and they've proven that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the same bad habits and just soft play is still there. That hasn't gone away. It's still the same players. It's still a poorly constructed team.
Yeah.
From top to bottom. So, you know, is the new system better to watch? Sure. On most nights it is. So, you know, you go from a team that was defensive first, and I understood all that, but for Richardson, like why he needed to play that system. First of all, he's a guy that played over 1,000 games as a defenseman.
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't have anybody that can score. So he figured the only way we're going to win is if we find a way to win 2-1.
Yeah.
Logically that made sense. In practice, it just you started to stranglehold your best offensive players.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. So now when Anders Sorensen with the 2-1-2, you pressure a little more. You're more offensive focused than defensive first. So some of these guys, like Connor Bedard has been really good since the changes. Tyler Pertuzzi, wow, why hadn't he played with Connor Bedard all season?
Oh,
like,
wow.
Yeah,
Who'd have
but
thought?
almost like that was a plan for
oh my
KD.
God! Like I can't believe that Anders Sorensen finally figured that out. What a genius! So like it has worked for certain guys, but it's also not worked for other guys. Like Seth Jones has not looked great in this system. He looked really good the other night against the Colorado.
He had a
that
good
was
game.
his. So I think with Jones, it's more of not necessarily he doesn't fit the system. It's more of coming back from an injury,
Yep.
adjusting to the system, playing with a different partner every night. All those things combined led to some really crappy hockey.
Yeah.
But last night, I think, was that game where you can go, okay, Seth Jones is back. So now instead of playing really boring hockey and losing 3-1, you're playing slightly more exciting hockey and losing 6-2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a bad team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that kind of your take? Because I see a lot of people and guys in the locker room like are always emphasizing like the effort and the energy and oh, we need to be working harder and stuff. But I've said on the show like I think you can work as hard as you want. I think there's a very low ceiling for this team. Like, do you feel that way? Do you kind of just feel like this team is not constructed well and not a very good squad?
It's not, and that's not necessarily. You know, I know people will. You know, they're on the fire Kyle Davidson bandwagon, which is silly at this point. You don't hire a guy to do a 5 to 7 year job and fire him 3 years in a row, 3 years into it, when 95% of his prospects have not even turned pro yet. You just don't. This year was not about making the playoffs or being a good team. It's supposed to be better. It should be better than this. But oh no, you get the number 2 pick again. Oh no, that really screws the rebuild. Like, sure, you want it to be better, but go back to that last summer. Who was he supposed to get to make this team? But he tried to get Jake Gensel.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out. You can't blame Jake Gensel for wanting to go play for Tampa. A good team, no state income tax, all that stuff. So he went and you got 2 of the better forwards of that second tier in Bertuzzi and Teravainen, and they're coming around. Bertuzzi's been really good. Tavo had that week where it was like, oh my God.
But he's the best player in the league.
And now he's kind of falling back. But, you know, I think he'll do good things with Nazar and Doc. But as far as like that effort stuff, I'm so tired of that.
Me too.
It's
gross.
It's a load of crap.
It's so bad.
It's the whole play a full 60.
Yeah.
Nobody plays a full 60 minutes. It's garbage.
It's on and off,
It's locker room BS.
It's just like jargon. It's just things to say.
Cliche
to give the media.
to just tell the reporters something so they leave you alone.
Yeah.
So you can go take a shower.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Like, there are games where you're like, oh, these guys don't care. Well, for someone who's been in that room for the last 3, they care.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't like walk in and say, I don't care if we win or lose. You don't make it to the NHL with that kind of attitude.
Mentality, yeah.
It's just when you go through the things and the same things happen to you over and over again, it's very easy to, something bad happened to you, to just go, oh, well, we tried. Here it happens again. And then before you know it, it's another goal and another goal. That's been the biggest problem. It's not effort. It's talent and the lack of talent. And that they're soft between the ears, and they have been for 3 years, and they still are now. Where, like, against Colorado, I was shocked when that goal was taken off the board by Connor Bedard. They didn't give up a goal right away.
Yeah.
Shocked.
That's been an issue.
I
They always respond horribly.
I
Shift
figured
after goals,
it's going to be 3-2 Avalanche in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So credit to them for not caving. That was a caveable moment, and they didn't. So that had a lot more to do with Peter Mrazek than anything else.
Yeah, he bailed us out.
But that's what the biggest issue of this team is. It's not effort. It's not trying. It's not caring. That's BS.
Yeah.
It's their biggest enemy, besides, you know, being the lesser talented team on most nights, is between their own ears.
Yeah.
They're fragile. They're fragile, mentally weak.
Is the talent issue then, like, isn't that kind of on Kyle Davidson a little bit?
A little bit, but as I said, this wasn't supposed to be, you know, a playoff year. This wasn't supposed to be the year that the rebuild's over, guys.
Yeah.
We're back. But it was supposed to be better. To go up in April at the end of the year and say this is unacceptable.
Yeah, that's
He made it sound like he didn't want to finish bottom 3 again.
Right.
That's my issue. Is like I haven't called for Kyle Davidson to be fired, but I think that his seat should be a little hot, just because he did come out and say that this can't happen again, that the team has to be and will be better, and it's not been. And then also, I think the whole thing with CHSN has really rubbed fans the wrong way.
Yeah.
It's so you're paying $20 a month to watch the worst team in the National Hockey League. That's not supposed to be the worst team in the National Hockey League. And I think it was just so much worse under Luke Richardson, because at least, like, yeah, we've gotten pumped a few times in the past couple weeks under Sorensen, but it's like at least we're still trying to play offense.
At least Bezzy's producing now.
The Richardson thing, it was like, that's why I was being so critical, and I've been so critical of KD on the show, is just because you will lose, regardless of how I feel. Like, I'm always going to watch the team and cover the team, but regardless of how I feel, there are a lot of people out there that are not going to be interested in watching the product.
No, and they're not. Half of them can't.
Yeah.
And that's been a huge just disaster for this team.
Disaster.
And they get a lot of heat for it, and some of it's deserved, and some of it, like, they're not the ones sitting there with trying to negotiate with Comcast.
Yeah.
That's CHEN's job.
Yeah.
And there is no negotiating with Comcast. You're on this tier, and that's it.
Yeah.
There is no other place to go. So you either take it or leave it. If Jerry Reinsdorf thinks he's going to be the one that makes Comcast bend the knee because he's got the worst, literally the worst team in the history of baseball.
No, Jesus Christ.
But then it's also like the Hawks and the Bulls also suck.
Right. You've got these three just garbage ass teams.
Yeah.
But please give me a different deal than everybody else. It's not going to
No,
happen.
it's not Monday Night Football. It's the
Comcast
Blackhawks.
doesn't need you. You need them.
Yeah.
And they know that. They had the same thing. I mean, the Colorado Avalanche aren't on Comcast 3 years.
Yeah.
They weren't on it when they were winning a Stanley Cup. Altitude Sports is not on Xfinity.
Criminal.
Because of the same thing. Wow. So it happened with Bally Sports last year. They had 12 Major League Baseball teams did not be able to see their games locally until June.
Yeah.
So if they're going to block out 12 Major League Baseball teams and a Stanley Cup champion, you think the Blackhawks are going to be the team that all of a sudden gets... So you either take that deal or you don't. They should never have gone into that. Now, that was their decision to join
Horrible
that network.
decision.
I get it because it's a loyalty to Jerry Reinsdorf, which I hope this is the last straw of this. I mean, you know, when you're Danny Wirtz, you grew up with Uncle Jerry and all these deals. You've made a lot of money together. The Reinsdorf and the Wirtzes have. So you just go with what you know.
You got to protect your own, though.
I know for a fact the Blackhawks are livid over all this and regret this decision. They should have went to Marquee when this all started. That would have been the perfect. And I know someone I trust told me Marquee came to them.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
There's a connection there. Obviously, with Jamie Faulkner and Colin Faulkner, that connection. Marquee needs winter programming. Blackhawks provide winter programming. It made too much sense. They're already on Xfinity. Mm-hmm. But because of their loyalty to Reinsdorf, they made that bad decision. And it's biting them in the ass. Yeah. And but for a lot of fans, they should be thankful they haven't been able to watch.
Honestly, it's a good kind of break, honestly.
I mean, because every time they get thrown on national TV,
they get stomped.
They get
15 months in a row.
Fowler broke that streak against the Avalanche.
Yeah. I mean, so it's in a season of decisions that have not worked out well. That's on the top of the list. And back to Davidson and his job, like, I don't know what, like he said, the expectations are raised. And looking back on that, he's probably regretting he said that. But when you saw what they did on July 1st, and you see Tyler Pertuzzi, and you see Teuvo Teravainen and Alec Martinez come in, and you get Laurent Brossoit, allegedly, before his leg fell off.
And where is he?
And you're like, hey, Brossoit and Mrazek, much better than Soderblom and Mrazek. You're thinking this is probably going to be a 70 to 75 point team.
Yeah.
Still not great, but better than what he said. And then
the Brody contract was
that's bad.
That one.
That's not a good. Didn't make sense at the time.
Yeah.
You didn't need Craig Smith and Pat Maroon.
Yeah.
Just takes
one
away
of the two
spots for young players.
But you looked at that day and you said, okay, he's raised the bar. This will be better. But it just hasn't.
The good news is, like, for the long haul, I think finishing like where the Hawks are right now, if they do finish bottom three, if anything, it's better for us because, like, imagine we lead this draft with one of Hagen's, Marteau, Misa. Like, that's not a bad thing at all for this rebuild, especially since we passed on Ivan Demidov in last year's draft. Like, we gotta get that complimentary forward for Bedsy, so that wouldn't be a bad thing, honestly.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I tell people when they start getting upset about Kyle Davidson is you just pull back and look at the big picture. This team is exactly where they should be on track. When you look at big picture, the worst thing, this is going to sound weird when I say it, the worst thing that happened to the Blackhawks was getting Connor Bedard when they got him at the beginning of the
timing.
Because the 2010 through 2015 teams, Kane and Taves were the last guys.
They were everybody else. Yes, the foundation
that.
was there.
Yeah.
Keith and Seabrook were already NHL players, and you already had Bolin and Versteeg and
Sharp
Brouwer, all those guys. They were the last two pieces.
Yeah.
That's why it clicked so quickly. So people said, well, we got Patrick Kane and they were in the playoffs 2 years later. It should be the same with Connor Bedard.
Their expectations.
No, this would have been if you drafted Patrick Kane instead of 2007, you got him in 2004.
Yeah.
Like those teams would have been god awful. So that getting Connor Bedard is great. Getting him in year 2 of a rebuild, not the best thing in the world. But you got to let these guys, the best thing that happened for Kyle Davidson was Wednesday night, when it's Frank Nazar scoring the game-winning goal, and Colton Dach getting an assist, and Bedard having a goal and assist, and Alex Vlasic leading the team in minutes that night. The more that these kids start showing up and being the reason you're winning games, the less heat will be on Kyle Davidson.
Gives you more
hope.
Because
that's what
it's all
he's
about.
here to do.
And that's what what I thought the season was going to be about. We have this thing on the show where we called all those guys you just named, we call them real Blackhawks, because they're going to be a part of it. When I think of like Craig Smith, Ilya Mikheyev, Pat Maroon, these guys are on the team for a year. They're here for a paycheck, and then they're gone with the wind, right?
Transitional pieces.
So what's your outlook on playing these kids on the NHL level versus playing them in Rockford? Because I see on Twitter there's so much disagreement. Like there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who say that some of these guys are rushed. I think kind of all agree that we want to be seeing as many of these kids as possible. How do you feel about that?
Well, we're going to see more of them as this season goes on. This roster is going to look very different the second week of March.
Yeah.
When you start trading some of these guys away. Not every prospect is the same. Yeah. Not every player needs a full AHL season or 2 AHL seasons. Some players don't need any AHL time. Those are very rare. Some players, 21 games, like Frank Nazar. I know 3 points in his whatever game since he's been here, not setting the world on fire, but he's looked good.
He's looked good.
He's creating chances. Yeah. He's doing the things you want him to do. Mm-hmm. So I think whatever apartment he was renting in Rockford, he's
better not go back.
Yeah, I don't think he's going back. I don't think he's playing in the AHL All-Star game.
I'll lose my mind if he does.
Maybe you send him back to play in the Calder Cup playoffs if the Ice Hogs make it.
Yeah, they got him. Yeah, they got him first.
Maybe you do that. Get those kids some playoff games. I'd have no problem with that. Colton Dach is a guy that, what the hell, keep him here. He's already got a full season under. He's looked good. He gives you something that this team doesn't have a lot of. We heard, Nick Foligno for the 3 millionth time this year the other day talk about, we need an identity. Well, you have an identity. It's just not the one you want.
Yeah. No. And also it's like, even if you think you still need an identity, we're halfway through the season.
Yeah.
Like
we're
past the identity.
You're not finding your
crisis.
identity anymore.
That's what training camp in October is for. It's January 10th.
Yep.
Like, you have an identity.
Yep.
You suck. That's your identity.
You're a bad
Deal
team.
with it. So Colton Dach gives you a guy, like they say they want to be a hard to play against team that's tenacious forecheck. Colton Dach's one of the only guys that fits that bill.
Yeah.
You want to be that team, but you don't have the team to do it. You don't have the guys that can do that. So some of these other guys, it's not like a car where you have every car is wired the same, has the same pieces. You know what you're getting. Like, each player is different. If they're ready to play at the NHL, get them up here. Yeah, it's not going to hurt anything. If they get up here and they're in above their head, send them back.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of it. Like, you can send them back and forth.
Especially since you took the development coach that you liked so much, that was the head coach of the Rockford Ice Hogs. You made him the head coach of the Chicago Blackhawks. What's the point of, like, when I see people arguing for it, I'm like, why would you even have them play in Rockford? I don't care. Bring all these kids up. Like, I'm so done with watching.
There's not a lot of options left. I mean, Korchinski, he'll probably be up at some point again this year, especially if you trade Alec Martinez at the trade deadline, if he could stay healthy for 2 games in a row.
Please.
Other than that, there's not a lot of guys down there that are just like banging the door down like Nazar and Dach were. Gavin Hayes got hurt, but I don't think he's NHL ready.
Maybe Slaggert, maybe.
Slaggert would probably be the other guy, and he's that kind of guy that fits that. Hey, we want to be a hard forechecking physical team. That's the guy that can do that, and will do that. So other than Slaggert, and Korchinski, I don't know. Maybe Del Mastro gets a couple games at the end of the year. Maybe you bring Savoie up for a game or two just to.
I'm excited for that kid.
I mean,
as he saw Shawzy in him.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be that like energy spark plug guy that your
Bottom six.
your rat kind of player, like your Dave Bolin. Everybody says Shawzy. I get that, but
Dave Bolin
was the all-time greatest at that role. And a better overall hockey player. So don't be Andrew Shaw.
Be Dave Bolin.
Be Dave Bolin.
Yeah.
With a back.
Yeah.
Preferably. Leave the homophobic slurs at home.
Yeah. Literally. We don't need any more.
No more drama with this team. No. Last thing we need.
So, no, you go.
Well, I don't know. I just like.
Okay.
No. I feel like there's. It's like the identity thing when they talk about, you hear these guys say like, oh, we want to be like a hard-nosed, hard forward-checking, aggressive team. I also don't even feel like the players that we've drafted in the past few years, I also don't feel like that style really suits them. That's why I was kind of calling for Luke Richardson to be fired like early on, is because I feel like the style of hockey he liked to play wasn't suiting your Oliver Moores or your Frank Nazers or your Connor Bedards, right? Like, I don't know. Like, am I wrong about that?
But you can do a lot more. You can be a really good forechecking team without being physical when you're faster.
Yeah, that's true.
When you get to the puck before them, you look like a great tenacious forechecking team.
True.
Yeah. It's got nothing to do with effort or being bigger. It's just you're winning the foot races, and that's what Kyle Davidson has drafted, a team that's going to win every foot race. So what they lack in physical attributes, they don't need them because they're always going to have the puck. I mean, you look back at those Dynasty Hawks teams, they weren't the most physical teams in the world. They weren't dumping and chasing and beating people up along the because they didn't have to. Yeah. Like they got out. Everybody said, "Oh, they get out hit every night." Yeah, because they always have the freaking puck.
Yeah,
you don't hit people when you don't have the puck. Yeah. So that's what he wants. He wants that Colorado Avalanche, Tampa Bay Lightning type of team where you're just
passing it around everyone,
north and south, just out skating everybody.
Yeah.
You don't need to win a lot of board battles when you beat the guy to the puck and you're 3 feet ahead of him.
Can we talk about 98 a little bit? There's been some comments. We've talked about like, I don't know if you saw anything like the Barstool Chief has been saying the last couple of days with
Jeremy Roenick.
No.
The Roenick stuff is,
and the Roenick stuff too was where I was going to.
Yeah, I saw your tweet about that.
Considering the source, I'm not surprised.
Basically, Chief was like, Celebrini would have been a better fit for this team than Connor Bedard, and we've been putting down the whole side, like people who say that Connor Bedard is experiencing a sophomore slump. We just say that you're not actually watching the hockey
points
games.
Per game are the same as last year, 0.9 points per game.
People will say anything stupid to get clicks, get engagement, and that's all that is. And Connor Bedard is an easy target this season. Yeah. I get it to a degree. All the hype he had last year, and you're not seeing the results team wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But again, anytime I see these things, to me, it's like it's a lot of out of town stupid. Yeah, it's a lot of like I'm just looking at numbers and he's a minus 19 and the Hawks are in last place. He must suck.
Yeah,
watch a game.
Yeah,
watch 2 games. Like
watch the Sharks too.
It's like the Sharks. Everybody's all of a sudden in love with the Sharks. They still suck.
They're
in the same position as us.
Yeah. We might finish above the Sharks.
That's probably the way team we're capable of finishing.
Celebrini is a great player, and guess what? If it's Macklin Celebrini here instead of Connor Bedard, the Blackhawks still suck.
They're still horrible.
I don't think Celebrini's put up the numbers of the Sharks.
What is Celebrini doing on a line with Ilya Mikheyev and Tyler Bertuzzi?
The same exact thing. Like
maybe less. I would argue probably wouldn't be as productive as Bedard.
The Sharks
I think if you
switch
their situations, I think Bedard would be doing better than Celebrini is at the Sharks with the offensive talent they do have. So
yeah, I mean, sure, but like to say you want one over the other is silly. They're both really good players, and they're both cornerstone guys of their franchise. They're going to be what these two teams build around, and they're going to be fun to watch build a rivalry against each other. Like, man, wouldn't that be fun to see them in a Western Conference final head to head?
Hawk Shark series back
6-8 years from now. Wouldn't that be great? That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. They're gonna be good.
Just enjoy it. Like, I don't understand why. Like,
always the comparables.
It's people just can't enjoy what's going on. I don't know. There's not a lot to enjoy right now, but you have Connor Bedard. You went through that horrible season. You got lucky. Thank you, NHL. And we have Connor Bedard. Like, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yes, while it's not great, but just know that, like, hey, going through these first 2-3 really bad years,
It's gonna make it worth it.
when they're in the playoffs again, and Connor Bedard is
You're not gonna think about it.
is winning, is a Hart Trophy finalist. You're gonna be like, man, remember how bad it was? Doesn't this feel good? Like, just enjoy it, because these things don't last long.
I also just think that, like, doing the comparison game, like, I'm fine with it. It's always going to happen. People are always going to compare players for the rest of time, for the rest of sports history. It's going to happen. But the thing is about doing it now, like, it coming from somebody who's a Blackhawks fan, doing it this, like, it's too early to do this. Why are you doing it about? It's supposed to be your boy. Like, this is our guy. Like, we refer to Connor Bedard in many names on the show. One of them is, like, our baby boy. Like, that's our guy. Why would you even, like, push this narrative of, like, oh, he's not doing his? It's just such a weird thing
Because
from my perspective.
it's cool to be negative. It's
I
cool
guess.
to be. It's popular. I don't like that.
Yeah.
That's you're edgy and dark.
Yeah.
No, you're lame.
It's why Betsy's playing Patty Kane today. So you look at their stats, like, they're almost like identical from year one to year two. And the fact that Betsy's doing that in a much worse hockey club compared to Patty Kane, I think it just shows, that he is that guy. And looking forward to watching them again tonight. Should be a fun matchup. Yeah.
I think a thing about Bedard, actually, that we haven't really touched on at all, but I'd be interested to hear your take, because, and we could tie this into, like, the summer too, and what this summer has to look like. But I think something big is, like, Connor Bedard's eligible for an extension July 1st. That's probably priority number one, you'd have to think, or at least number two, because they'll be under
Could
RFA
happen
control.
next
If you want to do it, if I'm Connor Bedard, no,
Really?
I don't sign it this summer,
Whoa.
because
Scary for us to hear.
no, he's
Well,
not.
salary cap, salary
He's
going
not
up.
going anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't sign it this summer not because I'm unhappy. I sign it because I want to have that huge year
Yeah,
number
prove
3.
it, yeah.
So I get
100
more
plus
money.
point
Yeah.
season. Yeah.
Well, that's probably now. I should rewind the tapes. His agent doesn't want him to sign it.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't care. He just wants to play hockey.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would think that would be definitely discussions. Maybe you get like one of those Alex Vlasic type. Not saying they're going to get him for 6 for 6, but you get that second deal where it's not as bad. Or you just give it to him and say, here's your max type deal.
What do you think that looks like, though? Is it 8x10? Is it 8
Nice
by
if it was 8
11?
by
I mean-
9.8 like the Crosby deal. Probably not.
I mean, if you get 8 by 10, Kyle Davidson is the
You
mayor of
throw him a
Chicago.
parade on the streets.
Immediately.
If he says I'll do 8 by 10, and I hear one more person say they want to fire Kyle Davidson, like, come on.
No,
Yeah,
if
no,
Betsy
he's good.
signs 8 by 10, I'll give Kyle Davidson my firstborn son.
if you get there.
So, okay, do we want to go
What do you
free
think?
agency or draft here? Because
Well,
I want to
we can-
ask about both. Free agency. We've talked about it a lot on the show. We kind of feel like this team needs a big fish, a big free agent, more than it needs another 7 veteran players, that half of which are going to get injured and then a couple are going to be under bad contracts. And how do you feel about that? Do you think he needs to do that now? Do you want him to wait till I know 2026, 2027 is like a big year for, like, all the top dogs in the league are going to be free agents basically. But do you think he should do that? I feel like he should do it now. I feel like after this past season, you're gonna have the money to do it. Bedard needs some help. What do you think?
Well, I think there'll be definitely a lot more pressure this summer.
Yeah.
Than, say, if this team was, where we expect them to be. Maybe if this team was, 6 or 7 points out of a wild card right now, and you like, it's better. Maybe you don't push, but the way they are, I think the problem is, I think the days, especially if the salary cap is going up, which it reportedly is, and gonna take some big jumps here over the next 2 years. If you listen to Elliot Friedman, and why wouldn't you? I don't think there's going to be a lot of these big guys actually hitting the open market.
You don't think like Marner or Rantanen hit the
I
market?
would
all
be
snatch 'em up.
shocked if Mikko Rantanen hits the free agent market. I would be shocked. Colorado has been trying for a year to figure out how that they're going to make that work. And if the salary cap goes up $6 to $8 million, then it's going to work.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked. I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked, but I'd be surprised if Mitch Marner hits the open. He wants to stay in Toronto, regardless of that love-hate relationship between him and the fans. He wants to stay there. And, you know, Tavares' money is coming off the books. They can afford him if they want to. If one of those guys hits the free agency market, yes, you throw everything at one of those guys.
Would you give Mikko Rantanen $14 million
Yes.
for 7 years?
Done.
Okay.
Done.
Yeah.
Mitch Marner too.
Okay.
Yep.
Either one of those guys. Sure. Done.
Because you think the cap's going up?
Yeah, I mean, Elliot Freeman had about a month or so ago that he believes within 2 years the cap could be around $100 million. That's how much. Now we've heard this before, and things happen. But
COVID happened.
Yeah, and you know, but things are trending that way. And listen, if it doesn't go up that high, and you have Connor Bedard and Mitch Marner playing on the same line, you figure it out. You figure it out. Like you become the Golden Knights. They always figure it out.
Yeah.
Find some guys with bad backs that you can sit between January and April. Like figure it out.
Yeah.
Work the IR game like they did with Kane in 2015.
Yeah, like you could figure like the teams that like, be the Florida Panthers who like we're not going to draft anybody. We're just going to trade and sign free agents and build this team, and then we're going to find a way to keep them all together. Figure it out.
I am a little worried I don't know if Kyle Davidson will be able to do that just based off this past year. I know it's harsh to I don't know, judge him on that, but I don't think he did that great of a job. What about like an Elias Pettersson? Would that be a guy you'd be willing to?
Done.
Yeah.
Done. The Hawks are going to get like that elite player to run with Connor Bedard. It's probably going to have to be through trade, not free agents.
Yeah. So like, what would you? Should we build a little
Mock trade?
Yeah, mock trade. Like, what would that take? Like,
it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
Top prospect, top draft pick.
You're going to have to give up, you know, a Frank Nazar or Kevin Korchinski.
Yeah.
Done. Not even blinking an eye. Done. Like, why would I hold on to a guy that might be, if everything goes right, might be slightly less better than Pettersson in 3 years, to getting Pettersson right effing now when he's in the prime of his career?
Yeah.
Like, if it's going to be expensive, a Nazar and or Korchinski, probably that first round pick this year. Are you willing to give up a top 3 pick for a guy that's going to be, he's 26 and locked in for 6 more years?
Would you give our top pick this year?
Or do you think you can make it work with like Korchinski and like the Maple Leafs pick they have?
I don't know if that's going to be enough.
Yeah.
I don't think that will be enough.
Yeah, because you got to put yourselves in the shoes of Vancouver. Like, yes, he hasn't been playing well. Yes, there's this drama with JT Miller, which does it exist? Does it not exist? Whatever.
Oh, it definitely exists.
If you're Vancouver, you know, like, you're still not gonna, just because he's been playing bad doesn't mean you're gonna give him up for a bag of pucks.
And the thing that I don't know if the Hawks can realistically get a deal done for him is Vancouver is not rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
No, they want to contend.
They have their window open. They have Quinn Hughes in his prime.
They've got studs.
Yes, so they're not going to want to necessarily trade Pettersson for just picks and prospects. They want a center.
Yeah.
They want an NHL center. Blackhawks don't have any of those.
No,
they don't have what Vancouver wants. So the fact that that's why I don't think if it gets to the point where they trade Pettersson, I don't think they will. I think a lot of that is just out there to kind of get things motivated, and then maybe somebody's dumb enough to give you ruin their franchise to get them. You never know. You never know what a guy's worth until you put him out there and get back, some offers. But I don't think the Blackhawks have what the Canucks want in a trade for Pettersson. They want a guy. They want a young NHL center that can play there for years. They want to swap really good 26-year-old player for another really good 26-year-old player, and the Blackhawks don't have that.
What do you think about the draft this year? Is it like
if we have the first overall pick? If we have the first overall pick, what do you want them to do? What do you want them to do, and then also what do you think they're gonna do?
if you have the number 1 overall pick, I'm going to preface this by saying I think he's a really good player. I think he's going to be really good. Do not take Matthew Schaefer number 1.
Yes, we are in total agreement. We are in total agreement. No more defensemen. Kyle already passed on a Ford last draft. Don't do it again.
Even if you're at number 2 and Matthew Schaefer's on the board.
Yeah.
I get it. I see all the people saying he's Makar, he's Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
And okay, you get a guy like that in your team, you figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, but you
got too many defense.
It's a tough set. Well, you can never have too many.
I think we're getting pretty close.
You can never have too many because a lot of these guys, we're talking about, the free agency and how these big guys aren't coming out there. Some of these young defensemen are going to get traded to get you that real center you need.
Yeah.
All these guys aren't going to play in Chicago.
Yeah.
They're currency until they're Blackhawks.
Yep.
So, if you do draft Schaefer,
trade all of them.
then you can trade Kevin Korchinski for Elias Pettersson or Kevin Korchinski for whoever.
Yeah.
Or Sam Renzel, you throw him in a trade package. Then all of a sudden, somebody who's really good is expendable. And then you can get somebody to help your team now. So I would understand that. The biggest reason I don't want them to do that is because I don't want to hear the outrage from the fans about drafting.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear
we're
about it.
going to be so fucking annoying on this show.
Yeah, no, seriously.
I don't want to hear about. I don't want to hear it. James Higgins is the player. That's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy. That's the guy I want on the Hawks.
Yeah, but you don't think
K&T's
you don't
2.0.
think KD and the Blackhawks org are
Look
looking
at
at that?
Martone,
Are
yeah,
you
the
are looking at
size,
that
yeah.
big right
Hossa,
wing
yeah.
captain, good shot, plays both ways?
Lee likes Porter Martone, if you couldn't tell.
You mean the guy that got healthy scratch in the World
Yeah,
Series?
yes. Well, I think
That
that
guy-
says,
Meanwhile,
I think
Higgins
that
was
says a lot
dominating
more
for
about
the
Team
US.
Canada
Yeah.
than it does about Porter Martone because they also didn't play him
Guy
with
that's-
his line mate
the
the
guy
entire
that's
tournament.
so good that he couldn't even make the lineup on that garbage team.
Yeah,
I agree.
If all those stuff.
No,
wasn't his
I like Porter Martone, and I would have zero issue with Misa, Higgins, or Martone. Any of those guys.
Yes.
All those guys, wonderful. They all fit.
Agreed.
They all fill a hole you have in your organization. They would all be great players, in a couple of years playing with Bedard and all these guys coming up. Any one of those 3 guys, and yeah, as I say, don't take Schaefer. That's more tongue in cheek. I wouldn't hate it,
Neither would I.
but I wouldn't. I want that stud. You need that stud forward.
Yeah.
But if you get a Cale Makar, okay, sure.
Yeah.
You figure it out. You then take some of your other stud young prospects, and that's how you get the elite forward to play with Connor Bedard by trading. All of a sudden, you have a surplus of good young defensemen. You turn that into your top line winger or your second line center.
I do, when considering that, I do get a little worried that I'm myself being hypocritical because last year I was screaming, take the player with the highest ceiling. Take the player you think is going to be the best over fit. And I really thought that was Ivan Demidov. I know you guys thought it was Ivan Demidov on CHGO too. And we went with Lev Shadov. Now this year, if we get the first overall and Matthew Schaefer is the consensus number 1 best player in the draft, am I going to be, hypocritical as hell saying, don't take him.
Hey,
we have got too many defensemen.
What's the point of having a podcast if you can't be hypocritical?
True, that's true. I
Got to
do
get the engagement, man. Say whatever you
Absolutely.
want.
Get the clicks.
Absolutely.
That's a strategy to it.
Do you think there's like a chance he uses the Maple Leaf pick to trade up or trade
There's always
for
a
a player?
chance.
Yeah.
I think he needs to.
There's
And he's
always a
aggressive in
chance.
drafts.
He loves trading draft picks, and he's got so many.
So many.
And he's going to get more.
Surplus. You might use all of them.
Yeah, because who knows what's going to happen in February?
Yeah, he's going to get a bunch of mid-round picks at the trade deadline. Nobody on this roster is going to get a first-round pick.
Like 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, I mean, at best, maybe if he plays well the next few weeks and there's a bidding war, multiple teams want a Taylor Hall.
Like a second.
Maybe you get a second round. Maybe, probably a third. So you're going to have a surplus of 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks. So you can bet if there's a guy that Davidson wants, sitting 3 picks ahead of where he's at, and he's worried he's not going to be there. He'll trade a bunch of picks to get there. He's done it before. He'll do it again. Like, the one thing that I have always given credit to Kyle Davidson to is he's aggressive and he's ballsy. And that's what I want out of my general manager. If you see a guy that you have to have, go get him. If you're wrong, you're wrong.
He definitely has his type in these drafts for sure.
Yeah. He definitely does.
Yeah.
And he wants speed guys, and
size on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with that though.
Yeah,
when you watch today's game, I mean, that's speed wins.
The Cats, man.
And we'll see what happens. There's still a long way to go, but to me, Higgins is the play. If you're number one overall, then you really start that's tough.
If you get number 1 overall,
I think we'd be
trade
lucky
back
to get it
2
again.
spots,
And let the other team make the decision.
trade the other pick, the Maple Leafs pick, up to the top 5 as well.
I know you really want like 2 top picks. You keep saying that.
I feel like I got this year, to be honest with you. I know what you're saying about Kyle Davidson in the Blackhawk situation is so much more rational than what I'm saying, but it's like, it pissed me off so much. Like, the Winter Classic pissed me off so much. I didn't even get to go. I didn't even get to go, and it really rubbed me the wrong way. I really feel like, in a way, and I know we shouldn't be rushing the rebuild, whatever. I feel like Kyle Davidson kind of has to / owes it to this fan base to do something to get us excited.
No, I don't disagree with that. And I think he will. Like, I think there's a lot of work to do this summer. It's not going to be necessarily, all right, let's bring in one more free agent to fit in what we already have. I think he's going to look to change the, I'm going to use that word again, identity of this team. He's going to change the makeup of this team.
Yeah.
He needs to get something different in there because this mix isn't working, and it's not going to going forward. So, does he make a trade? Does he, find a taker? We'll see what this trade deadline brings up. There could be some names that he finds a taker for that you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Mm-hmm. And we're not even talking about the elephant in the room. His most important move this summer is not the draft. It's not free agency. It's the next coach. Mm-hmm. That's his most important.
What do you think of
move.
David Carl? I think there's a chance.
You want a veteran, right?
I want a guy with experience. Yeah. Not that I would be mad if it's David Carl, but if I'm Kyle Davidson and I hear the chatter, maybe I'm physically feeling my seat get a little warmer these days. There's more pressure. Do I want to risk that on a guy that's never coached in the NHL before?
Yeah, that would be the 5th consecutive rookie coach.
Again?
Yes.
Yeah, Sorensen, King, Richardson.
I just feel like it's like written on the wall. This guy has won everywhere he's been.
He's also had really talented teams.
Yes, and he's 35.
But he's familiar with so many of these young guys we have coming up. I'm sold on him. I think he's brilliant, and I think that's totally the guy that you sign him. You do this last draft. You have all this young talent coming up, and then in a few years,
he's not returning for the U.S. World Junior Team next year.
And he's a young guy, so he can really speak to these young kids that we have. I just think it makes perfect sense. But he just did an interview with Frank Saravalli where he basically said like it would have to be a perfect situation. Yeah. He really likes what he's doing at Denver, and like all the stuff. Like he's recruiting guys to go to Denver, and like a big pull for them is, hey, he's the coach here, So I don't think it's gonna happen just based on that interview, but I can dream. And I think that's a guy you roll the dice on.
Those guys also like to put that out there to
yes,
up the negotiations as well. That's a negotiation tactic. That's
okay.
Listen, money talks.
Okay.
He can say he loves Denver all he wants. It's a load of shit. He's gonna move for
Chicago's
Original
beautiful.
6 franchise.
Someone comes to him for $6-7 million a year. Denver, what? Never heard of it. Gone.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
That's negotiating in the press. That's an old tactic. I wouldn't hate David Carr. I wouldn't. Mm-hmm. I would just prefer somebody that's done it. Not Bruce Boudreau. No,
not a guy like that.
Not a retread. Not a guy that.
I don't want a guy who makes me angry when I look at him.
If you've been fired more than 2 times in your career, I'm good. Like the guy, my dream candidate, he'd have to actually be available. And the way they've been playing lately makes me wonder if this guy is Mike Sullivan.
Okay.
Oh,
that would be a great fit for the Hawks. There were a lot of talk this year, early in the year, the way the Penguins were playing, it was going to be, Kyle Dubas. That's not his guy. but now all of a sudden, now the Penguins are all of a sudden in a wild card spot. Maybe because they have a really good freaking coach and Sidney Crosby. Those two things can carry. Those two things can carry a bum ass team.
I don't know. Michael Bunting's been lights out recently.
Because I just cut him from my fantasy team 3 weeks ago.
I cut Cater, and now he's had 12 points last 12 games.
I cut Matthew Nyes about 3 weeks ago too.
Who's been cooking in Toronto? Yeah.
So basically, if I drop you from my fantasy team, you are about to take over the world of hockey. But I would like that would be a guy that like if they do just part ways at the end of the year and he's available, or you figure out a way to get him out of the last year of that contract, that's a guy I think would be perfect fit for the Hawks. Has that demeanor, still a youngish coach.
Yeah.
Has experience working with younger players. Has coached one of the greatest players of all time for the last 8-9 years. I mean, that's experience that very few other coach. David Carl's never coached a Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
Or a Malkin. He's never won Stanley Cups. He's never coached a Stanley Cup playoff game. He's never told give Sidney Crosby a kick in the ass in the Stanley Cup final. Like, that's stuff that's invaluable. And that's stuff that a guy like Connor Bedard will look at and go, well, if this guy told Sidney Crosby to do that, then I got to do it.
Yeah.
You mentioned John Cooper. Sure. Sign me up.
It sounds great.
Not happening. He's not leaving Tampa. If he doesn't want to coach anymore, they'll just bump him up. He'll be team president, co-owner, whatever.
That's what I think David Carl can be for this Blackhawks team. I think this is like, I understand that there's so much risk, but also think about how it could just go perfectly. Think about how this could be a perfect situation.
But did you just move to Chicago? Do you not know how Chicago sports works?
It can always get worse before it gets better.
Nothing is ever perfect here.
We're always going to be bad.
Jay Woodcroft.
Sounds great. Jay Woodcroft.
Still kind of younger, but
I mean, he's not the top of my list, but I definitely listen. I'd definitely bring him in and talk to him and see. He had some success in Edmonton, and then, the team underachieved, and he, paid the price because you can't fire a team. And then lo and behold, hey, look, they're the Edmonton Oilers like they're supposed to be. I don't know how much of that had to do with the coaching last year, more the fact that Connor McDavid got healthy. And decided that
they kind of locked in.
I'm going to be the best player on the planet. Like, I'm not going to score goals this year. I'm just going to keep passing the puck to everybody else and get 3 million assists. That helps when you can walk into a locker room and there's Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and those guys can turn it on. You look a lot better than you really are. And when those guys don't turn it on, you look a lot worse than you really are. So, I mean, I'd definitely talk to Woodcroft, see what he has to say, but he's not on the top of my list. But, this list is going to get bigger as the season, there's going to be some guys that have jobs right now that are going to become available.
Yeah.
Well, at the trade deadline, I don't think we've alluded to a little bit, but what moves would you expect Kyle to make? What players you think, what the Donatos, Halseys, would you expect to be on their way?
I'm trading anybody that somebody makes a call on at this point. Because every trade you make of a veteran opens up a spot for one of these kids to come play. Yep. You have to keep in mind that at the end of the year, Oliver Moore is going to be up here to play a few games. Maybe Rinzel, Nick Lardis, a Ryan Green, Dominic James is another guy that their college careers are going to be ending. I don't know if you send them to Rockford or give them, like Nazar last year, give them the last 3-4 games. There'll be spots available for these guys. You have to make room for them. Taylor Hall is probably going to be the most attractive guy at the deadline. He's a guy that, you look at some of these teams out there and right now what's going on in the league, especially in the Eastern Conference, is exactly what the Blackhawks want. There are
tight playoff race.
There are 3 teams selling right now, and the Blackhawks are one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's right now,
a
lot can change over the next 6 weeks. But you look at the East, especially, the Buffalo Sabres are in last place in the Eastern Conference. They're 7 points out of the playoff spot.
Yeah.
Nobody's selling at this point.
No.
In the West, you have the Hawks, you have the Sharks, you have the Predators are out, the Ducks are probably out.
Kraken
are probably out.
None of those guys are making it.
But there's not a lot of sellers, a lot of buyers, and that's great. So that's going to drive up the price. You want somebody to get into a bidding war for Taylor Hall. He's probably their most valuable trade chip. You look at a team, I know people don't want to hear it, but you look at a team like St. Louis, the way they're playing, Taylor Hall in St. Louis would be a really good fit to play their bottom, or Colorado, even another. They need depth.
They need depth. They're so top heavy. It's disgusting.
Colorado is a first round exit right now.
Yeah.
As good as McKinnon and Rantanen and Makar are, beyond those guys, they got nothing. I know they've got some guys hurt.
No, they've got
Miles
plumbers.
Woods.
They've got plumbers playing on that.
No, I mean it's
podcasters playing.
It's the top. That's not that bad. They've got their top line, and then they've got the AHL squad out there. So, Donato, he's one of those guys. Like, do you trade him? Or is he a guy you want to bring back for another 2 years?
If he'll make it a third or fourth, I'd honestly keep him.
He's so cheap, and if you're gonna get a fifth for him, I don't know if I even is it worth it?
That's the thing. Is he more valuable to your locker room the last 2 months of the season for a fifth round pick for a guy that, if he even plays a game for Rockford, is a win?
Yeah.
I don't know if you will, but the way he's kind of come back to earth the last month.
Yeah,
he's not leading the team. He hasn't scored a goal in
it's been a
long time.
Well, he's been playing fourth line minutes a lot.
Yeah, but that's what he should be doing.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's on a team. The teams that are looking to get Ryan Donato are not for him to play in the top six.
No. It'd be a
to
fourth
do exactly
line.
what he's doing right now, and you don't give up a lot for those guys.
That's true.
Pat Maroon will probably get. You can get a fifth or a sixth for Pat Maroon. Fine, done.
Do it, please.
Craig Smith, if he can stay healthy, that's a guy. And I really like Craig Smith too. I never realized until he got here. He's a good guy, but I never realized how fast he really is.
He is
until that first day of training camp. They started with a scrimmage, and his first shift out there, I was like, "Who is that?
Is that the best player on the team?
That's Craig Smith. Holy crap! Yeah. I just thought he was just some fourth line plug, but the dude's got wheels, and you need that. But he's probably a guy that gets, and then Alec Martinez again stays healthy, 3 Stanley Cups. That's a guy. That's a team that hey, if he's our third pair defenseman, we got a pretty good shot.
Yeah.
Other than that. You never know. Don't rule out a Peter Mrazek trade.
Ooh.
I think
when Brossoit returns, because
I think that makes the most sense. Yeah, right.
But you look at some teams out there that the Ottawa Senators are right there, and Linus Ullmark is now out week to week with a bad back, and who knows, goalies and backs, not a good combination. And you're a team that you need to make the playoffs. That's a fan base that is just angry and almost done. You're trying to get a new arena built. Yep. This is our year for the last 4 or 5 years. You're right there. And you have Anton Forsberg as your starter. No thanks.
Yeah.
But if you're the Senators, are you
going to give that much up for a backup?
My one more point is you've got a goalie that can't stay healthy in Ullmark. Do you trade to get another goalie that has issues staying healthy in Mrazek? Because then he gets hurt again. You're right back where you were.
And then next season you're paying over $11 million bucks for a banged up tandem. But I see
that's their problem, not my problem. Maybe Philadelphia. I know he's played there before. Their goaltending situation is awful. All 3 of those young guys they got just revolving door of suck.
Yeah, Swiss cheese.
And they could use a goalie for another year. That's going to be the biggest deterrent is the second year on Mrazek. But take away that groin injury this year, he's been fabulous.
Yeah.
He was great the other night. He's the reason they beat the Colorado Avalanche. He was back to being the Peter Mrazek before the injury. Took him a few games to get there. I think he rushed back so he could play in the Winter Classic.
Yeah.
We were screaming to start Soderblom, and that paid off well.
And
starting him again tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I'm fine with that. He deserves it. Just like Soderblom deserved his back-to-back starts. And then he went out there, in that against the Rangers. And he wasn't the reason. He wasn't the reason they lost. But you give up a 6 spot. You give up a 6 spot. So Mrazek could be a guy they look to move because you have Brossoit for next year allegedly if he actually is a real person. I still have doubts that he actually exists.
Yeah,
so,
me too. I've seen him one time. I think I don't even know what he looks like.
He was skating for a while before practice on his own for about a month, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, he's got to have another surgery."
It just kept happening.
Yeah.
It was like
said 5 to 7 weeks, and then he comes back, and then it's another 5 to 7. They just keep
Well,
moving the goalposts.
at least Anders Sorensen has learned don't give time frames for guys.
Yeah.
That was Luke's biggest problem. It wasn't his biggest problem,
Gave too
but
much
it was always 4 weeks, or he's fine. He'll be just a couple days, and then you're attending his funeral in 3 days. It's like, don't give time frames if you don't know.
Yeah.
Just say, I don't know. And, again, another guy that I think you could talk a team into if he's healthy, maybe you get a taker for Connor Murphy. And that opens up another spot on the back end. He's got another year, but his deal is a bargain.
Yeah.
Because when Connor Murphy is healthy and playing, he is a solid second pair defender, and the price is right. What he's making, you're not going to get a Connor Murphy type player on the open market for cheaper than what he makes. So that could be another move. There could be a move or two where you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming. But likely Taylor Hall, Maroon, probably Alec Martinez. Those are like the biggest ones, and maybe Donato. If you get a 3rd round pick for Donato, I take it.
I'm seeing some Jason Dickinson in the chat too, a little bit. Maybe.
Maybe he's got another year. He's cheap-ish, but the Hawks really like what he provides.
Yeah.
But with Ilya Mikheyev coming back next year, do you need Jason Dickinson?
If you do the same thing. Yeah.
I actually kind of think Ilya Mikheyev is taken over as the best defensive forward from Jason Dickinson.
Yeah.
I think he's actually been better this year. Dickinson, as great as he's been, he's had some rough spots. I mean, there have been a lot of goals where he's kind of just trailing the guy. But you think about that Toronto game off that face-off play, and he just stands there and watches the game-winning goal get scored. There's been other games where...
they've continuously put him in, he's always in the defensive situations. I feel like he's constantly matched up against the other team's best forward.
Yeah.
It is his job, but yeah.
That's what he gets paid $4 million to do.
Yeah, that's true.
And who else are you going to put in those situations?
Yeah.
Connor Bedard?
No,
Hell no.
please, no.
Frank Nazar? No. I mean, he's your only guy. What was the goal the other day? Was it where Crevier and he got the Caulfield goal against Montreal, where they just both
standing that front,
let him
all the time and space.
For a guy that's supposed to be your Selke candidate guy, a guy that's in the locker room, another one of these guys that we got to play it the right way.
What's going on?
There's been some brain farts there this year, but the Hawks management loves him. It would have to be a good offer, but I don't know if anybody wants to take a guy with another full year. Those aren't really the deals you see at the trade deadline. Maybe that's something you look to move on from in the offseason if you get a good deal. But I think Jason Dickinson brings more value to this room the rest of this year and all of next year than a 3rd round pick would.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, just watching the clock. We got to get to questions here in a moment. But before we did questions from everybody, I wanted to plug your stuff, the Substack, and also give you any space you wanted to talk about CHGO and what happened there. And I think personally in this room, you were our favorite part of that show. And we're not just saying that because you're sitting here on our couch right now.
I'm gonna have Jay on next week and tell him the same thing.
Yeah, right.
No, I just but now you're doing your own thing, and obviously you alluded to off the hop, looking for something, but how that went down, and just anything you wanted to share.
No, it's still it still sucks, the whole situation. The three of us over at CHGO, we built something that Blackhawk fans just were dying for.
Yeah.
It was special, and I'm proud of everything we did there. And unfortunately, when you start getting investors in the company, and the person whose vision of building this company now has to answer to people who have money involved in it, it changes. And unfortunately, that's what happens. But that's what happens in this industry a lot. And there were a lot of talented people. It wasn't just me that got bit. And not only in Chicago, but in Denver and Phoenix as well. When you let guys like Craig Morgan and Steve Peters go,
yep,
you're making really bad decisions.
They didn't retain Craig Morgan?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you think they foresaw the insane response to these moves? Like, I remember like going on Twitter and just like under your tweets, it was just so many people just being
I don't think so, because I don't think they had, and I don't think the people who made this decision care.
yeah,
They're not
so
the,
brutal.
They're not the ones that, you know, they're not the ones that have to deal with any of this stuff. They're sitting in the boardroom counting their money, and you know, you can't. You got to have full return on your investment. So if it means really talented people get fired the week before Christmas, they don't care. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Awful.
It's terrible.
It's the way it is. It's the way this industry has been for a long time. So I mean, you talk to so many people, everybody who's does this professionally goes through this at some point. It
Yeah.
happens. But when, you know, within the 2 days after all of this is happening, if I'm getting not only text messages from a ton of people within the industry, but when I'm getting text messages from Jamie Faulkner, from Kyle Davidson, from Danny Wirtz, from Darren Pang, from Troy Murray, from Rick Ball, I'm like, I think I'll be all right.
Yeah.
I think I'll be okay. Like, this is gonna suck for a little bit. It's the middle of the season. Nobody's looking to add a new position in the middle of a hockey season.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna
People
have to
are gonna watch it though. Yeah.
So, you know, I'm doing the Substack thing. You know, the chirps over there every morning. A little newsletter with Hawks hits and some NHL stuff. And when you know, Ice Hawks play, some updates there. And I'm still doing pregame and postgame videos. Just to keep visible and keep busy. But you know, it's $6 a month if you want to subscribe over there.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound
Everybody go subscribe. Honestly, please go if you're not already. It's really good. So
yeah, it doesn't sound like a lot, but enough of those makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
So, you know, and I'm keeping an open mind about things. You know, there's been some little freelance offers here and there, but you know, I don't want to just take something for the sake of taking something. I want it to be the right fit. So, unfortunately, I'm probably gonna have to figure out a way to tough it out, you know, until the summer.
Yeah.
And people start looking for their coverage next year. But hopefully, the next landing spot is still talking Blackhawks. But you know, if it isn't, it isn't.
What would be like? I know you mentioned that if people want a hard worker and are going to pay you, you're open to whatever. But like, what would be for you like a perfect situation? Like, do you want to be more podcasting? Do you want to be more writing? Do you have a preference?
I never thought I'd be big into the podcasting until CHGO came along, because I was more of the writing. But I had a lot of fun doing the podcasting. You know, I don't have to tell you guys, it's harder than it looks.
Yep.
It's not just sit in front of a camera and talk. Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into doing it. Where when you're writing, you're kind of just like, okay, here's my 1,500 words, boom, I'm done. But you know, if there's a place where I could do both, that'd be great. But as I said, I'm open-minded. You know, if someone wants to hire me to be strictly an on-air guy, awesome. If someone wants to hire me to be strictly a reporter, great. Like, just, you know, I love it all. I embrace the grind. I love being around, you know, a team and for the long haul, and just seeing how a season evolves, how stories change throughout the year. I love all that stuff. So as long as I'm involved some way, writing or podcasting or both, it doesn't matter to me.
That's why hockey's the best. It's like the story it tells throughout the course of a year.
Yeah, I mean, the team is never the same in April as they were in October.
Yep. Do you still have your credentials for the season or no?
I still have the physical credential. Whether or not I could use that to go in, that is still discussions. I'm sure if I get attached to like an actual outlet, it won't be an issue. You know, but you know, there might be some things here before the season's over, where you know you see more of me, but you know the right things have to happen. And it has to be, you know, a good fit for me. You know, there have been some offers made, and it's just like, that's not for me. Like, you know, I get it. People are trying to you know, they see somebody out there, they know they're desperate, let's try and take advantage of it. But it's got to be the right fit.
Yeah.
Good.
Wait
Good
it
on
out.
you.
Wait it out. All right, let's do some questions, and then we'll end it up, and we'll tee up tonight's game and tomorrow's game in the NHL hour too. A lot of Hawks talk today, but it's been really fun having you on. Okay, we'll do Discord first. Who is your favorite non-Hawks player of all time, Greg? We can start with you if you got one.
That's a long list. I would probably say it's two guys on the same team, and I don't know.
You can give them both.
It's between Joe Sakic or Peter Forsberg.
Oh yeah,
I loved both of those guys. I loved those Avalanche teams back in the late '90s, early 2000s. They were my playoff team. It was like once the Hawks weren't making the playoffs, they hated the Red Wings. I hate the Red Wings. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Forsberg was awesome. I mean, he was just borderline dirty and super talented. And Joe Sakic, that was the prototype to what led to Jonathan Taves. I mean, just the guy that did everything.
This guy I looked up to.
Yeah, those two guys are probably two of my all-time favorite non-Blackhawks.
who you guys got?
I don't know about all time, but I'd say right now just Matthew Tkachuk. I'd say he's a dog, physical kind of grinder as well as a skill. I'd say it's a guy like Brady, the Hawks could use right now. I know he's a big fan of his brother, so I'd say right now Matthew Tkachuk. I would have to think more about all time. I couldn't even tell you right now. Yeah.
I'm also I was gonna go Matthew Tkachuk or Sasha. I'll go Sasha Barkov just because I don't know. I'm 24. I started watching the Blackhawks when I was like 7 or 8. Right before the dynasty and right after we drafted Kane and Taves. So like I never liked anybody outside of the Blackhawks. To be honest with you, I was only cared about the Blackhawks. I just wanted them to win. If the Blackhawks lost in the playoffs, I didn't watch the rest of the playoffs because I was a kid and I just didn't give a shit about anybody. But now I feel like Sasha Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk, this Florida Panthers team reminds me so much of those Blackhawks teams. I feel like they're absolute killers. I feel like they're savages. They show up when they're needed the most, when the lights are brightest. They're good in the postseason. Sasha Barkov can do everything on the ice. I think he's the most well-rounded player in the entire NHL. And I think he's like I know everybody calls him underrated, but I genuinely believe that Sasha Barkov is a top 10 player in the NHL. So that's my guy.
You can't be underrated if everybody says you're underrated.
Well, I still wherever you have him, I think he should be higher than wherever.
No, I agree.
Barkov top 10 a lot.
Like that guy is an animal.
I think he's getting his flowers now with the back-to-back Cup Finals and the win. Yeah.
How about you, Tassos?
I'm going to say Austin Matthews. I love
the big Leafs guy.
Big Leafs guy growing up. 4 goals in his first game got me just hooked, and I love watching him shoot it in the net. It's a lot of fun. All right, next question from Mark W. Which prospects are you most excited to see in a Blackhawks jersey?
Roman Kanserov.
Oh yes, I think that's a great one. That's the one we've been banding about here lately.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely playing well. He's a guy that's kind of under the radar. Obviously playing in Russia, you don't see a whole lot of him, until Scott Powers tweets about him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's an exciting prospect. I think that's a guy that, years from now are going to go, how was he a second-round pick?
Yeah. I think we're already thinking that.
He could be our Kaprizov.
He's like one of the best players in the KHL.
I mean, he's going to have another year out there, which is fine. Let him keep playing pro out there. So he's on that list. I mean, I'm excited to see what Levshunov can turn out to be. You use the number 2 overall pick in the draft. You should be excited about him, regardless of who you wanted to be picked there. Yeah. It shouldn't be, well, you didn't pick my guy, so I hope this guy fails. I mean, that's not a great mindset to have either. And then like a Sasha Bover, I'm excited about what he's playing really well in North Dakota. He's that kind of guy that the Hawks lack.
Complete player.
Down the middle, physical, can score, good defensively. I think that he's somebody to be excited about. I mean, they've got good history of guys who play center that wear number 9 at UND. So
True. He speaks French too.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, draw your own conclusions.
It could be that desperate number 2C that we need. Yeah.
I'll mix it up because I would have said Cancer Off.
Yeah, I beat you to it. I knew you were
That's our friend of the
I
show.
keep beating you at everything. I beat you
I know.
to Chuck, too.
Roman Cancer.
Friend of the show, Roman
he
Cancer.
follows me. Yeah.
I'm gonna go Nick Lardis. He's got he's
I can't snub him.
he's tied with Misa in goals in the OHL quietly. Quietly has 33 goals and not as many games. Yeah, I mean, a guy that can put the puck in the back of the net like that. I feel like people don't talk about him too much, but it's like you can't not say anything about a guy that can score that much. I know it's the OHL, but still.
Yeah, every time I check in on him, he's scoring goals and has highlight reels and stuff. Man.
Yeah, he's a definitely exciting player. I worry about how small he really is.
Yeah.
But we'll see when you got a shot like that if you can find space. The funny Lardis story when we were at that draft in Nashville, Jay was down covering where the media was, and we were up on the floor, and that was when the Hawks had like 4 picks in like 5 minutes or something. Like the guys were just coming back, and like he had no idea who this was. So he was like sending a picture of the guy and to like text me saying like, who is this? And like the Lardis gets up there and Jay literally texts me and says, somebody's child is sitting up here wearing a Blackhawks jersey. Who is this? Because he looked like he was
so
12 years
Yeah.
old. And one thing I will say about him, seeing him at development camp this year, like there was noticeable difference in this. Him and Sam Renzel both were like, oh, okay, they've grown up a little bit. So
That's
there's
good.
room for growth. But yeah, Lardis is an exciting player. I think we'll see him get a couple games before the end of the year.
Good.
When the OHL
Rinzel,
is
too,
up.
was taking an insane step this year, but he could be Hobie Baker contender over there. Yeah.
All right. I will, since you took my pick, fellow Greek, Nick Lardis.
Sorry.
I'll go Merrick Van Acker, actually. He's coming off that shoulder surgery. 11 points in 16 games. Underproducing a little bit what he did last year, but I think, coming off a shoulder injury, that's going to happen. And, again, I like guys
It
that
took
can shoot
days
it
our
in the
time to
net.
get back to where he was when he came back. Different injury, but yeah.
Yeah.
Takes
so
time.
I'll say Van Acker. All right. Last question from Discord, and then we have a couple from Instagram. Who is the next captain for the Chicago Blackhawks?
Come on.
Betsy.
And he's no zags. No zags. Nobody.
No, to be honest, they probably should have done it this year.
Really?
Yes. I agree.
Like if he's going to be it, just do it.
make him.
I mean, Tays was
Like-
captain in 19.
Like
yeah.
I get the Foligno stuff, but it's like
He's the guy.
It ain't working.
Pass the torch. Yeah.
Like Foligno was the if so fatso unnamed captain last year, and he's the captain this year. And look at the results. Not saying Connor Bedard wearing a C of this team is a Stanley Cup contender,
I know
but
what you're-
Fleo doesn't need the
like-
letter to be a leader, right?
no,
Yeah.
so if it's anybody besides him, it's a shock.
Yeah, there'll be riots in the streets. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
And for one, and I said this, many times on that other show I used to be on. I think the captaincy of a hockey team is something the fans overrate so much.
Yeah, for sure.
In the room, it doesn't mean as much as
yeah.
fans like to think it does. It's a great honor. You get to chat with the refs, but everybody would tell you in the Dynasty era, it wasn't Jonathan Taves who was the real leader to it. It was Brett Seabrook, and he was never captain.
Yeah.
So it's overrated.
Yeah.
You need multiple captains almost
Yeah,
in
you
a
need,
team
a,
like
you
that.
need, a, yeah, you need
Yeah.
a whole team full of guys that are like, if the guy next to you is struggling, you pick him up and dust him off. You need the whole team to do that. Not one guy does that.
All right. That is from the
said.
Discord. Make sure you join the Discord so we can answer your questions every Friday. Got a couple. You can also DM us, though, so we got a couple from Instagram. In 15 plus years, this is from Thomas. In 15 plus years, when we are reminiscing the Bedard era Blackhawks, what will be the standard in terms of if the Bedard era was a success or a failure? How many cups, player accomplishments, etc.? And is it fair to have 2010's Tays and Kane era expectations?
It's hard to reload. We kind of match that again. I mean, 3 cups in 6 years. I'd be happy if at least one. It'd be nice to win more, but that's like I think we were a little spoiled in our childhoods there for expecting that again. Although it would be nice. Yeah.
3 is hard, very hard.
Yeah.
And if that happens in Connor Bedard's career, holy cow.
Yeah.
Amazing. I think a trap that we've fallen into as a fan base and in a in a media sense too, is like we keep trying to compare this to that, and there's no comparison.
No.
There's different situations. It's a different world. It's a different game. Like, you know, who's going to be the Jonathan Taves? Who's going to be the Nicholas? Nobody is, because those guys were once in a lifetime type players.
Yeah, they were special.
So, I mean, obviously you have to have a cup for it to be considered a success. Because look at Connor McDavid. They, you know, people are still, well, he's never won a cup. He's never won a
Matthews,
cup. Yeah, like you're gonna have to, for your,
Ovi has won.
You know, it took him a while. It took him a long time.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be the greatest goal scorer this league's ever seen. Imagine if he didn't even win that one.
Yeah.
People would be like, "Oh, I don't care about the goal record. He doesn't have a cup."
Yep.
I mean, we see it in other sports all the time. So yeah, I mean, there will have to be a cup in there. You know, a Hart Trophy.
Yeah.
You know, a scoring title.
Yeah.
But you know, I think everybody has their own plateau of what a successful career is and what isn't. But for a guy to come in with that much hype, #1 overall pick, you better win a championship or two.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want a cup. That's all I know I'm spoiled, so I won't even say more than one, but just one, please.
At least.
All I want.
Somebody asked what the trade would be for Elias Pettersson, but we already kind of talked about that. So we got two more here. One prospect one, and then I like the last one, so I'm going to save it for last. Okay, prospect question. What prospect do you think is not getting talked about enough in the Hawk system? In my opinion, Nick Lardis is quietly lighting up the OHL and is only behind guys like Misa and Martone. He was looking like a steal. Any under-the-radar Blackhawks prospects that you're liking, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, Lardis is a good call there. You know, two guys I mentioned earlier that I don't think get enough talk about, guys like Dominic James and Ryan Green. I think Ryan Green is a guy that can really solidify your bottom six. Could be your, you know, third or fourth line center of the future. You know, he's playing in one of the top programs in the country.
Yep.
So that definitely could be a guy that, you know, is under the radar. You know, there's with so many picks they've had. I mean, you know, we talk about all the defensive prospects and, oh, you can't, you know, what if you draft Schaefer and all this stuff? I don't think Sam Renzel gets talked about enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's playing in Minnesota, high profile program there, but I don't think the steps he's gone from draft year to first year in college and now second year of college gets enough hype. He's taken huge strides and could be, you know, one of those guys when they took him at the time, you were like, that's a reach, but your third pick of the first round, so that's where you go for guys like that to go on, wow, what a great pick that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say
Definitely.
Renzel would have been my pick. I would just say John Mustard. Best
Oh,
name.
that's my guy. That was my
I'm reading
guy.
people's minds today, man.
Yeah. John Mustard has 14 points in 20 games as a true freshman
not
at Providence
bad.
right now. That's pretty good, honestly. He's 18 years old playing that well. And
Third round pick.
Yeah, I
Spellacy's
mean,
another one. Yeah.
Spellic's
Yeah,
a guy
I like
that-
AJ Spellacy a lot. I just the brief time
The
he
Hawks
spent
Twitter
up here,
people love him.
Lee
Yeah.
thought he was going to make the Hawks out of training camp.
I thought he looked so good in the preseason.
you weren't
I
one
didn't
of those
actually
guys,
say
were
that.
you?
I thought he was. No, he was
one of
he's
those,
joking.
X
He's-
accounts, yeah.
He's joking. But I was saying that I was confidently saying that I think AJ Spellacy is going to be a second line center in the NHL with confidence.
I wish- I
I
wish-
think he's been playing hockey so much less than everybody else, and he's just such a physical freak and already looks good. I think he's just as raw as it gets. And once he starts to really develop some of the skill and the hockey IQ, I think he's going to be a beast.
I wish I had as much confidence as you do.
You don't.
Well, yeah, at least says a lot.
I just think
yeah.
he's
No, I think they may have something there. Top 6, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Not saying it's impossible.
Yeah.
That's going to be a long way to go before we get
Yeah.
to that point.
All right, so this is a fun one. You know, the name of our show is Chicago Hockey Radio because we're trying to be like not as nondescript as possible while also kind of getting to the point of what we are. So I thought this was a great question. What is going on with hockey in general in Chicago that's not the Hawks? How does the general public feel about the Wolves, Hogs, Steel, etc.? Should the city get a PWHL team? Yes, in my opinion. Or any D1 programs? Is the game growing in the city despite the Hawks' performance?
I think hockey in Chicago, the Chicago area, is still pretty strong. I mean, you look. I spent a couple years before COVID scouting for the North American Hockey League, so I spent a lot of time at the showcases and the Mission and the CYA and Team Illinois and all those teams. You even have like the Fury down south, in Orland Park. So it's strong. I mean, Chicago's still producing a lot of NHL talent. The Wolves. Nobody
cares.
No, nobody cares.
Tassos loves the Wolves.
I mean, Wolves games are fun, but no. I mean, the Wolves, the Chicago Steel, they have their like hardcore fans, and that's about it.
That's crazy. That like being a hardcore Wolves fan. Like I've never met a single person that is like a Wolves fan or an Ice Hogs fan, but not a Blackhawks
Work
fan.
for the team for a year. You'll find them. They exist.
There's a portion of Wolf fans that hate the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
And like the fact that the Wolves and the Hawks can never figure out, a middle ground is insane to me.
Don Levens.
Yeah, I know. I've covered enough Wolves games in my career.
Tassos used to work for the Wolves. So.
I used to joke with Brian Sandelau of the Sun-Times the year he was covering the Wolves with me. We used to joke that the Wolves were just an affront for a money laundering scheme for the Jewish mafia in Rosemont, and nobody's proven me wrong yet.
It might still be true.
But yeah, the ownership there won't allow them to really be a real AHL affiliate. That's why they're finding a new team every 2 years.
Yeah.
But there are Wolves fans that wear the jersey of whatever team they're affiliated with. They're like die hard. I mean, it's a very small group, but it's a loyal group. To get a women's team here would be awesome.
Would be. I think that's a slam dunk.
I think.
Where do they play?
I think that.
That's the problem.
Well, the expansion to the Fifth Third Arena is going to be including an arena that could fit, I believe, 3,000 spectators.
Oh,
there you go. If that's not big enough, you can play them at the Now Arena in Hoffman Estates. It's a little tougher to try and get people to go to. But I think if you get that like 2,500, 3,000 seat rink at Fifth Third Arena, which is part of the plan, I mean, you'd sell that out every night. And then there's also where you could get your secondary rink for the World Juniors to come to Chicago. You play your
You play your
10 a.m. Latvia versus Norway game there, and then you use the United Center Canada across the street. I mean, it's what Ottawa did. I mean, some of those games were played at the TD Place, which is
underneath the football.
Yeah, like
stadium.
It's where the Senators practice.
Yeah.
So, like getting that done is going to help the city of Chicago and their hockey. Now you're gonna have 4 functional rinks. I believe in between the two, there's going to be an outdoor like rollerball rink too, which
is
would
this
be
that like 1901 project?
No, this is Fifth Third Arena. They've already started it. Like, so there was that huge lot of land that went from like where Fifth Third ended to all the way to Damon. That's all going to be built out with 2 more rinks. And maybe a Hawks like Hall of Fame type thing in there too. Maybe, like lots of cool things going on there. Yeah, that's just the Fifth Third project. That's not part of the 1901.
Speaking of the World Juniors, like there are 4 Illinois-born players on that U.S. squad. It's come a long way, Illinois, in terms of developing players and the talent. Yeah. High school ranks, it's fantastic.
The Hawks dynasty definitely led to
you gotta think
that. And getting Connor Bedard is not hurting because there are a ton of kids out there in their 98 jerseys.
My favorite player is
Connor
Bedard.
Like,
name another Blackhawk.
The 88 jerseys have been replaced by the 98 jerseys, and that's going to help.
What about the last part of the question? Because this is something I've wrestled with for a long. The D1 hockey, like how come there isn't not even just in the city, University of Illinois? Like how do they not figure it out? I know they were talking about it, but like, the 3 of us are DePaul alum too. And, I've sat down with the AD at DePaul trying to get him to, and he's willing to listen, but, they just, it almost like the synapses don't click when they're trying to, because they're so basketball heavy that they don't really even like everything I was telling him was like brand new information to him. You know, I know UIC back in the day used to have Division I hockey, but how is that not a thing here? I don't know.
Simple answer: money. Hockey is a very, very expensive sport to maintain, and it's not football where you could sell 100,000 tickets at $200 a pop, and it's on, and you're getting TV money from ESPN and NBA, all this millions of dollars, and your NIL. None of that's there, so it's money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, college sports is a business. It's not what it used to be. So, you know, you've got, you know, your major programs in Division I, but you know they're making money. You know, North Dakota has an unbelievable stadium there that was paid for by an alum. Minnesota, obviously, top-notch facilities, and you look at the Boston schools, but they've got big donors, and they're actually, you know, people are paying to watch those programs play. It's a money thing to get an ice rink and maintain it, and you know all that equipment and all that stuff. It's very expensive, and unfortunately, I think a lot of colleges will see that and go, "Cool, we're gonna dump all this money, millions of dollars for a hockey program that's gonna make like $9 a game at the box, and we're never gonna get any return off of that."
Yeah. I don't know. I to me, it's like, you know, the smaller rink capacity. You know, if they, you know, you could play them, you know, in theory, DePaul, right?
Right.
You know, you could play them in that hypothetical PWHL arena too, and it's like, oh, if you sell it out every game, maybe, you know, at least, you know, I don't know, the basketball team's pissing away money there. So
well, yeah, they build an arena for a team that no one's coming to see,
and they can't put ice down in there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's, you know, I don't know. I mean, I think it would be kind of fun to do something like that. If it's DePaul or, you know, I don't know, does Northwestern ever want to play hockey? They got money to burn. They're building stadiums left and right. You know, I just don't know if there's an interest there. You know, everything is football and basketball driven these days, and you know.
Yeah, DePaul's so poverty for not having football or hockey. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Do something for us.
I think not having like a real campus hurts them too.
Yeah.
Like there's not a place where you go, like, you know, you can't walk in and say, I'm at DePaul. Like, it's classrooms strung out throughout the city, and there's no like, you know, center. There's no quad or anything like that to like really attach to.
The Lincoln Park campus it's really small, so that's kind of true because it is really small, but it does exist. Like, I don't know, I remember being in the dorms and like I felt like it was a real school. Like it would take like 5 minutes or less than that to walk the entire length of the campus, but I don't know. Yeah, it sucks. That would be cool if, you know, as a DePaul alum, it would be sick to have a...
I'm the only one here who didn't go to DePaul, so I'm not really getting this.
Yeah.
Honestly, last question. You got the Bears hat. How about them Bears?
It just matched the shirt.
I'm just kidding.
Well, Greg, we've taken way too much of your time. Honestly, this has been a lot of fun. You're welcome back with us
Sure,
anytime you know you have availability, or you know, whenever you'd like to podcast. If you ever feeling the itch, you know, you always have a seat on this couch with us.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us.
So fun. Honestly, we could talk for like 3 hours, I'm sure. And keep going
No
here.
script.
Easily.
Yeah. But that was great. We're gonna hit a break. Everybody stick around for NHL Hour. Probably be abbreviated. We'll probably tee up tonight's game against the Red Wings, and tomorrow. Who you got tonight, Greg? Wings, Hawks.
Every time I think the Hawks are going to win, they lose 6-2.
It's so true. And then every time you think they're going to get pumped, they somehow
Yeah,
they
so
beat the Avalanche.
Red Wings by 12.
Yeah.
Patrick Kane 6-goal game.
All right, we're gonna release Greg. Stick around for the NHL Hour. Subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We'll be back shortly. All right, everybody, welcome back to Chicago Hockey Radio NHL Hour Edition. We are going to do a little bit of Hawks talk, though, a little bit of cleanup. We'll talk about tonight's game against the Red Wings and tomorrow's game against Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers. Want to say thank you again to Greg Boysen for coming by the show today. That was honestly so much fun.
Good guy.
Like I said, off the hop, or at the end there, just that we could have talked to him for like 3 hours, and it would have been really good stuff. Everybody, go if you're not already. Hold on. Oh God.
God bless you.
Should I take over here?
No, I got it. Please don't. No, I'm just kidding. Go subscribe to his Substack. It's only $6 a month. We're all gonna do it. And you can get his morning chirps in there, and we're gonna be sure to tag him in all the stuff we post today and all that fun stuff. And he was just so nice to come by and take the time and to come sit here on the couch was really fun instead of getting him on Zoom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think us as a community support someone like that in this Blackhawks community who, I mean, I don't really know him personally, obviously, but he just seems like a really just genuine good dude. And he also knows his
someone
his
for us
Hawks.
to look up to. Yeah, like his example. Yeah.
So shout out to Greg.
Good guy.
And they you know what, not to pump their tires a little bit at CHGO, but him and Jay and they built that show from they started it from scratch, which is I think why it was tough, that. But they built that up, which is what we're trying to do here.
They dropped the ball over there, letting him go. I know it wasn't really them; it was the higher ups. But
yeah. But thank you so much to Greg for coming by. That was a ton of fun. All right, Hawks tonight. They take on Patrick Kane, Alex DeBrincat, and the Detroit Red Wings, who have won 5 games in a row after losing the first one under Todd McClellan. They've ripped off 5 straight. Looking a lot better than they did earlier in the season. Still don't know if it's enough to make the playoffs.
Yeah, apparently if they win tonight, I think six consecutive wins for the Red Wings, I think would be the most in the Weiserman era. I saw a stat from Wing Wheel Media on Instagram about that. So it would be very Hawks. It'd be nice of the Hawks to break that drought there, or break that potential streak. Something to play for there. And like you said, Kane versus Bedard, that should be a lot of fun. Those two always seem to. Bedard definitely seems playing a chip on his shoulder every time he faces off against Kane. So 8-game point streak right now, 11 points during that streak. That is the longest active point streak in the NHL right now, that 8-game streak that Bedard is riding. Let's make it 9. Let's keep it rolling. Playing good hockey right now.
Yeah, they're almost flipping spots with Ottawa right now. Ottawa was so hot before Christmas, and they've kind of stymied off and have been struggling as of late. And the Wings are the opposite. They've been really heating up. So that whole Eastern Conference, right below that wild card 2 spot, is all the way to the bottom to Buffalo, who were able to beat the Senators last night.
7 points behind the Columbus Blue Jackets right now.
Yeah, so it's tight. It's every game really matters.
Wings are exactly 500 right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be a good, fun game. Obviously, we always like playing the Wings now because of Kane and DeBrincat. So, I don't know. I don't think this is a spot where I love the Hawks, honestly.
Didn't go too well last time they played the Wings this year. They kind of owned us,
But also, who knows? I feel like that's kind of, as Greg said, he was anytime I pick the Hawks to win, they lose 6-2, and then it's the opposite for when he thinks they're going to lose. Maybe that's the case here. I feel like the Red Wings would be the pick that makes sense tonight, but I think picking the Avalanche a couple nights ago would have made more sense. So you never know.
Yeah, I'd expect the Avs to win. The live stream game that we did, and they did. So pretty much everything that we say tends to be the reverse, right? The good old reverse jinx. But Hawks running, similar lineup. I'd say the one thing I don't like, Kershaw's back in, which whatever, but it's for Reichel. Reichel was scratched yet again. Comes back after being scratched the last consecutive games. Plays fine. Doesn't play a lot because that's the season he's had. I should have asked Greg his opinion on that because the way the Hawks have managed Reichel this season continues to baffle my mind. It generally makes no sense. And so Kershaw slots in the 4C spot there for him, but otherwise the lamp's the same. Mrazek starting again, which again the way he played against the Avs, he could play his old team and ride that momentum hopefully. But don't love the Reichel scratch, but gotten used to that.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I can't wait for us to ship some of these veteran players out, just so that this doesn't have to happen. If you're rotating guys, it's not going to be guys like Lucas Reichel, who should absolutely, at this point, with the contract he's been given, kind of where he's at, in terms of the Blackhawks. Like, I think scratching him is the stupidest thing in the world.
I thought Sorensen would be better at that because, I mean, for the most part, he has been playing the young guys more. We've been calling up a lot of these young guys, but I thought he'd be playing Reichel more. I thought he'd give him a chance in that top six. He hasn't. He's been the 4C or scratch his entire tenure as coach, which I don't get that. I know they're very familiar with each other in Rockford, so I thought he would be a change from Luke Fair, but he hasn't.
Yeah. Somebody in chat said we should try getting Boysen on as a weekly guest.
I don't know if he'd want to.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe he would.
Yeah, I mean, that's even if it's not weekly or something. If he,
if he came on once a month or something.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I think we're all in favor of that because, as we said,
that was fun today.
Great guy, and he could easily just slide in and shoot the shit with us for the Hawks Hour. So yeah, whenever we're definitely gonna let him know whenever he'd like to come on, we will make room for him and do that.
So this is the third time that Patrick Kane has played against the Blackhawks. 2 points in 2 games, obviously.
2-0, yeah.
Is it still weird?
Yes. I mean, it's funny. The Hawks post a picture on X of, like Kane next to Bedard, but, obviously in the Wings jersey, it's like, man, every time I see that, it's like, what could have been, right? But no, it's still not really used to it, right? Even though it's been almost 2 years now to the day that he was traded. Been on 2 teams now, obviously the Wings and then the Rangers for that brief period. But I think he looks better in the Wings jersey, though. I think that jersey, unfortunately, does look good on him, but, it's a nice jersey. But, yeah, it still feels not like totally real to me, if that makes sense. Dude, I'm just so used to it, the childhood. And those are my 2 Pookies there, Pookie versus Pookie matchup tonight.
Something that's so weird is that like the Red Wings social media, they've been doing since they've had Kane and DeBrincat. They do this series like on Instagram and YouTube where they have DeBrincat interviewing Kane. And it's just like so weird to watch because it's like basically all they talk about and all they reminisce about is about the Blackhawks. Like it feels like the Red Wings are posting clips of 2 Blackhawks players.
Did you see Kane bring the Kaner shuffle back? Kat asked him to do that. Yeah, they're doing a great job. The contour. The Red Wings social media team is like running circles around this current Hawks team that isn't really doing stuff like that. We're not taking advantage of of Bedsy like they did because like if you look at the Hawks content back in the day, the old Blackhawks TV vids used to do with Kane Taze. Those are absolute cinnamon, man. They cooked at that. Every shift episodes are good, but beyond that, they don't really do a ton, honestly, in that side of it, like the Wings do.
You first.
It's also like, I don't know, like it's not like, I know this season has not gone well for the Blackhawks and this is not where we were supposed to be and Bedard's been relatively unhappy, but it's not like these guys are miserable all the time every time they go to it's not like Betsy's walking into the rink pissed off and sad. Like they're definitely still having fun. So it's like, I think that if the Blackhawks social media team did do some behind the scenes stuff where they were like having Bedard film guys or stuff like that, like having players interview players, I think it would stress the fans out less because it'd be like, oh, these guys aren't all miserable. Like, despite the media narrative, they could shatter that narrative with just some good Bedsy content, but they don't really do it.
That's a big part of why the Sharks, again, they're in a very similar position standings-wise as us this season, yet they're completely different narratives because they've been doing a lot of content with, Celebrini and Will Smith, like Tassos brought up last show. Hawks should take advantage of that, but get Bedsy, again, he doesn't really have that sidekick at the moment, but maybe that could be, Nazar or someone, or Korchinski with this.
Somebody literally just said, the 2 Sharks kids, the moment you said
that. Yes. Like they've been doing a lot of that. Again, maybe it's just not, Bedsy's own personality. Like Bedsy does have, there's this narrative a lot that he doesn't have a personality. He does, he'll show it when given the opportunity. He just doesn't really get the opportunity very often, at the moment. But,
dude, he was doing those Instagram lives with his buddies.
So fun with the football talk.
Where he was talking about football. Like, he would definitely do something like that. They just don't do it. And
they don't take advantage of it.
The Sharks are literally, it's simply a PR narrative that people are so high on the Sharks. They're PR merchants and geez, hire me, Blackhawks.
I think it helps too because it's the Sharks versus the Blackhawks and the way they're covered by the media, right? Like the Hawks are gonna get scrutinized more, original 6 club like that, big market coming off the dynasty, whereas the Sharks are California team. Maybe that makes a difference too in how they're covered. Maybe I'm just spitballing there, but anyway.
Yeah, I know. I guess I set you guys up for it, asking about Kane and it being weird, but you guys got called nostalgia merchants.
Yeah,
we're not alone there. We're not alone. I get it. You want to move on. It sounds like Kyle Davidson in chat there and his burner account, but I think the Hawks could have made it work. I'm not going to go down that road again. We've been down that road. That's not the trading. They could have brought him back a free agency, but whatever. We're not going to go down that road again. It's again. Should we move on? Yes, but it's hard when the media people and stuff are constantly bringing it up too. It's like it's our childhood, man. That's our boy. Like it's that's I don't know, but you're not wrong. I guess.
Yeah, it's like our idol, like a guy that like.
That's why I got into hockey. Patrick Kane.
Yeah, Patrick Kane is my favorite athlete ever.
He still is my favorite Blackhawk. Betsy's hopefully will take that from him, but Kane's that's my boy, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's a Patrick Kane quote, too, by the way, from Ben Pope. He was asked, this is pretty interesting. He was asked about, Jonathan Toews and his hopes of returning to the NHL. This is from Patrick Kane. Quote, I'd love to see him come back and play for the Blackhawks. That would be amazing. When you look at his career and how storied it is and how much success he had as a Blackhawk, you don't want to see him wear another jersey. I don't know if that's really in the cards. That's just my thinking. It almost sounds like Kaner's throwing a little bit of shade there, maybe. Like, oh, that could have been me. Maybe I'm just spitballing. Again, I don't think this is actually going to happen. If Toews comes back, it's not going to be for the Hawks. We moved on from him like we did from Kane. It's sad, but it's true. But it's fun that even Kane's throwing that out there. Or maybe he's just like, maybe he knows the Chicago media's going to eat that up, and he's just kind of like, fucking with us. But I thought that was kind of a funny quote.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't. Toews coming back is not going to happen.
With the Hawks, but I think it could happen.
No, yeah, I mean to the Blackhawks.
Yeah. But I just love that Kane's gassing that up.
Yeah, he's
so maybe he wants to come back with Toews. I'm being delusional as usual.
No, it definitely is like a bit of a like he's stoking the flames. He's talking a little shit and saying that because we all know that he wanted to stay with the Hawks, but I don't know.
KD said no. Anyway, we move on.
Okay, well, so before we move on, though, to wrap up Patrick Kane talk, just to like entertain this while we're bandying it about, does Patrick Kane finish his career as a Detroit Red Wing then?
I hope not.
I mean,
but then where? Buffalo?
I hope he doesn't, but I feel like he likes the situation there, especially I think the coaching change is helping too. He's been playing a lot better lately. I think 12 points his last 12 games. Both he and Betsy are running point streaks right now. But I think he loves playing with Cat. He's very familiar with the Michigan area, right? I mean, yes, he was born in Buffalo, but he really grew up in the Detroit area playing for the Honey Bake squad in his youth. I think he was like, I think Pat Verbeek was like his billet like family there when he was playing in the development program and stuff. So like he has definitely roots in the Michigan area. That's a big part, I think, why he signed there, right? Regional 6 franchise as well, like the Hawks. Great hockey market. So I think he enjoys the situation there, but at the same time, like if they're not going to be back in the offs and it's just showing that they're not going to be wiser plans, maybe taking a little bit of time. Like you think he want to end his career on a playoff Stanley Cup squad. I think they're better, but I don't think they're there at the moment. I don't think this is like a cup team or anything. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, that's how I feel too. I just want to see him win.
Yeah.
Like I just want her competing in the playoffs. That's really all I care about. So if Detroit's able to make it next year or something, like, yeah, that's fine. But I just don't think that they're within, 4 years of winning a Stanley Cup. So
yeah, but then we're talking about him going to like a team like a Florida or a Vegas or
I'd love to see that.
I don't think Patrick Kane is going to Winnipeg,
cool.
but
Yeah, Jonathan Toews good. Man, maybe Kane to Buffalo, Toews to Winnipeg. They will finish their careers in their hometown squads.
that would be nice.
Yeah, I've wanted to see Kane. If he's not going to be here, I'd love to see him in Buffalo. Maybe he could be what they need to break that playoff drought, right?
I don't care about Buffalo.
Maybe Patrick Kane decides he wants to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, one day.
Yeah.
Kane and Matthews.
Who wouldn't want that?
I think that'd be incredible. Kane and Matthews, come on now.
Yeah, I mean, you're two best American players of all time there.
Yeah.
Madonna, but yeah.
Right.
Playing for a poverty Canadian franchise.
Are you guys surprised that it was Mrazek tonight?
No, that's the way he played. I mean, I guess. Well, I think we said it should have been Soderblom today and then Mrazek on a doubleheader against the Oilers. But I mean, I think giving consecutive starts after 35 save performance, 36 shots. I don't think you could really complain about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why, just because he did play out of his head.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I do feel like it would have made more sense to play Soderblom tonight. But yeah, as you said, you got to reward the guy when he plays like that.
Yeah.
So then are you guys penciling tomorrow in as a schedule loss?
Well, I mean, last time we played the Oilers in a back-to-back, we thought that, but they won. And the Hawks actually, they tend to match up decently against Edmonton. Betsy always shows up against McDavid, but yeah, I think this Hawks team and the way, plus the Oilers, they always got the slow starts. The way they're cooking now, it probably is a schedule loss to your point. I think tonight's a winnable game though, but tomorrow probably not.
I think I disagree. I think I like us tomorrow more than tonight.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, we're doing the live stream tomorrow, so I think it would be in our better interest if they showed out tonight versus tomorrow versus tonight. But I don't know if that's what's going to happen.
Do you think it's a scheduled loss, Tassos, on Saturday?
I mean, I think by starting Mrazek tonight and Soderblom tomorrow, you're acting like it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but Soderblom has been kind of our guy.
He's only really had a couple rough games.
He just had one. Yeah.
Whereas I'd say worse performances than him for the most part this year.
Yeah.
But I think they still view him as a starter though, despite that. So to your point, the Hawks haven't beat the Wings. I want to say they haven't beat them since the home opener in 2023. So what is that like? I don't know, 4 consecutive losses or something. Yeah, it sounds about right. So
I'm gonna look it up.
Hopefully they could break that streak. That's my head. So I could be wrong about that. But I think Max Domi had the OT winner. I think that's what I remember that 2023 season.
Yeah. I can't find it here.
You could just go on ESPN and they'll have the past matchups.
Yeah, and the Hawks, they had a losing streak going against the Oilers, but they broke it obviously in October. So
10-21-2022 is when the last time the
That's
Hawks,
correct. Yeah,
it was a
I was right.
4-3 win for the Blackhawks. So that was the last time they beat the Red Wings.
Do you think there's a Kane Bedard? How are they going to show out today? You got to think. I mean, they've both been riding hot streaks going to this game, so I'd like to see both of them produce. An overtime game would be cinema, where either Kane or maybe Bedard returns the favor there from last year, right? So, or Kane gets another. Now we'll see. Either way, I hope they both show out tonight. That'd be fun. Maybe we'll get like a Kane Matthews type of game between Bedsy but Kane just going back and forth. That'd be pretty fun.
You'd have to think for Bedard, like, going up 2 straight nights, like Kane one night and then McDavid, like those are 2 games that like
you circle those matchups.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you expect him to like get up for it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta have a little more. You think motivation, gas in the tank for games like that, right? Yeah.
I really hope that he's able to maintain his point streak. I would love for some Bedard points the next 2 days. Keep this thing rolling. Is it true that he's on the longest point streak in the NHL?
That is true. Yeah, I saw that. I think sports. I saw it somewhere. Trust me, bro.
Longest of his career too.
I think he has 18 points in 15 games under Sorensen or something. I want to say that's like 90 plus, maybe even 100-point pace. I mean, he has 37 his first 41. That's 74-point pace. But like, if he produces the way he has been the past month, that's a big if. Like, I think I predicted 90 points before the season, which is still out there. It's probably going to be more in the 80-point range, but I don't think it's totally out of question. He could still hit that total.
Yeah. He's just going to need to start really lighting it up this back half of the season.
Yeah, and if he continues a trend, I think the break could actually help him. Because if you remember last year, the jaw injury obviously sucked, but he came out of that, looking refreshed and played his best hockey. I think that 4 Nations break is, I'd love to see him for Canada. Obviously, I'd have more interest in the tournament. I think that little rest, refresher could even benefit him even more. But then that's a ways away, but I'm already thinking about my projections there to see if they'll be right. 80 points is probably more realistic for Beds this year, which again would still be, a very positive second half of the second season. Yeah.
Do we think I don't know what some of the guys, I haven't really examined the 4 Nations face-off rosters in a while. If somebody on Canada gets banged up, do you think Connor Bedard is first up as an injury replacement?
And you noticed his play has stepped up a lot. Well, the coaching changed, but I think it's also been since he was snubbed from the Team Canada roster, which I hope to use as motivation. It looks like he has. You got to think he'd be one of the first names on the list if there's a potential injury.
Over like a Dylan Strome?
Yeah, I'd put Bedard over Dylan Strome.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely other guys I'm sure that they might look for more experience, but Betsy, I think that'd be such an X factor, player. You want to not make the same mistakes. Different tournament, obviously, but I'm sure they want some revenge on the World Juniors there.
Yeah, I don't know. Should be fun. I think he's been playing a lot better. So
yeah, no, seriously. Last month he's quietly been one of the hottest players in that whole entire NHL. To be honest with you, that's not even me glazing. That's just facts.
Yeah. All right. So how do we think today and tomorrow are gonna go? A little bit.
For the Hawks?
No, for the Blue Jackets, dude.
Well, we kind of just talked about it.
Well, okay. I meant, all right, fine. Then predictions then. Win tonight, loss tomorrow.
I'll be optimistic. I probably shouldn't be, but, we're coming off a pretty, Mrazek bailed us out, but I think we played decently as a team in the Wednesday game. I say we get a little, maybe a little win streak going here, 2-3. And I'll say we win tonight. I could see this being maybe like a 5-3 type of game for the Hawks, something like that. I think I said overtime. I'll say 4-3. 4-3 in overtime. Bed's a game winner. Yeah.
I'm gonna say loss tonight, win tomorrow. This team isn't really a momentum team. We don't really do after we score, after we win. Normally, the thing that happens after is not good. So I'm gonna say a loss tonight and a win tomorrow.
That's what I was going to say. Damn.
Yeah, sorry, it's like Greg Boysen says, whatever you think is going to happen ends up being the opposite every time. So, but yeah, I'm not very optimistic for tomorrow, but I hope it goes well, though, because we are live streaming it. But hey, I will say the games we live stream tend to go pretty well. They're at least good hockey games. So
that's what I'm saying. I think the stars are aligning for that Oilers game.
Yeah, fair enough. Connor versus Connor again. Yeah.
Plus the Oilers, they're beatable. The Penguins beat them up last night. So,
there you go.
It's not like you can't beat the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, they kind of just got themselves into a hole in the first period. I think the Pens were up like 4-1 after the first period, so they kind of shot themselves in the foot there. But yeah, definitely a beatable team.
There's actually a lot on the line tonight. If the Hawks win and the Sharks, I don't know if the Sharks are playing. I assume they're playing today too. If they lose, the Hawks get out of last place. So I don't know, there's a lot to play for here, boys.
Jeez.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a few times over the course of the season, but like it seems like sometimes this Hawks team will play up to their opponent and also play down to their opponent. They
struggle against
too.
like the mid-average teams. The Wings are kind of in that bracket, so that would be another suggestion. The Oilers, obviously, a top team where they would step it up, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why this team has such an issue with that, but it's you think they do better against teams around them, but no, it tends to be the opposite. They play better against the best teams for whatever reason. Yeah.
Yeah, they would probably say because it's an identity thing. It's all about the identity.
Nick Foligno over there.
While we're on the Oilers here, Evander Kane had surgery today with an expected recovery time of 4 to 8 weeks. The procedure was unrelated to abdominal surgery that he had in September, but he will need to pause his rehab schedule in order to recover for this knee. Hasn't played this season, obviously. 2 torn hip adductor muscles, 2 hernias, and 2 torn lower abdominal muscles. Oh my gosh!
I hear no bell ass situation. Like, at what point are you like? Do you step away from the game? Like,
No. He's 34. He's got plenty.
He's got to
left
pay
to
off
get.
his debts there from gambling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeepers.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just a lot of injuries to come back from. I don't know if that's going to be. We'll see how he, if he's able to come back in time for the postseason. And
This is unrelated, but Frank Nazar, too, I think this is a little bit of a hometown game for him because he grew up in the Detroit area, so it'd be nice to see him show out. He's been playing a lot better lately, as we've seen, got the monkey off the back there, so I'm sure he'll be showing out for this game today. Big Eminem fan, I know. He's listening to Without Me guy. I know that's their goal song there in Detroit, so hopefully we don't hear that too much for them, right? But, yeah.
All right, let's do score predictions for tonight and tomorrow, and then we can tee up some other stuff around the league. Who wants to go first?
Oh, yeah. Hawks 4-3 overtime. Bedsy winner.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tomorrow?
Oh, today. Oh, tomorrow. We did today,
tomorrow?
didn't we? Yeah, tomorrow against the Oilers. Oilers 6-3. Yeah.
Oilers 6-3. What do you got, Lee?
I'm going to go Hawks 4-2 tomorrow.
And what about tonight?
Tonight, I'm going to go Red Wings 5-2.
Okay, I'll say. Oh gosh, I mean, this is going to be a brutal post-game show. First of all, the post-game show is going to be a little bit later tonight. I'm going to go see a funk band tonight, so I'm going to go enjoy my Friday night, and Lee can't do it, and Raven can't do it, so, sorry, Justin, but yeah, we're going to have to be up a little bit later whenever I'm back
Approximately,
from this concert.
like what time is late?
I don't know, like probably 11,
Okay, I'll say.
Yeah. It won't be like 2 a.m.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll say. I'm going to, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to say the Hawks win both games. I'm going to say tonight is a 4-2 game, and I'll say tomorrow is a 4-1 game. So
Wow, 3-game win streak. Holy
You
jumping.
could put a little bit of money on that and win a lot.
yeah, no shit.
Things are finally looking up over here now.
All right. What else we got in the NHL? I mean, Dylan Guenther's out indefinitely with a lower body injury. My favorite player not in the National Hockey League, Josh Doan, recalled from Tucson.
It's Shane Doan's son, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's right.
No, unrelated. Same name.
Yeah, I don't know. Patrick Laine is still out for the Canadians. The OV goal chase is on tonight. Habs, Washington, 23 away from the great one. You guys think he gets it done this season? I say he gets it done.
So
I'm going to say he just misses out so that way the NHL could have an entire summer like marketing, for next season, and then gets early next year. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
He just misses out. Like he's like a few away going into next season.
Talking to the mic, brother.
The Senators. I feel like I
There
hear
you go.
myself.
Now you hear yourself better.
You're such a. The Senators just extended the Riddler.
Ridley Gregg,
Yeah.
4 years, it's 3.25.
If I said the Rizzler, you confused me there.
No, the Riddler, like
Five big booms for that trip.
the Riddler's from Batman.
No, I know.
Right?
I'm just making a Rizzler
No,
joke.
no, I know, but like, You hear Riddler and you immediately think of the Rizzler, Justin. That's so
I'm supposed to be Mr. Pop Culture guy.
Yeah.
I really fumbled the bag with that one. My brain has been rotted, unfortunately, from TikTok, which probably won't be here that much longer anyway. So.
Oh my gosh, I hope
And
not.
yes,
or I hope
Trevor-
so. Honestly, our TikTok is growing.
I'm gonna miss
so-
all the
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss all the Betsy edits on my likes there.
Trevor did point out that Gotham is Chicago, so that is fair too.
That is.
Is it like Chicago and New York like combined?
I think
It's mostly Chicago.
It's mostly Chicago.
It's mostly because like the lower drive
Whacker and everything, the
A lot of that,
trains.
Yeah, it works.
I
yeah.
made a thread in the Discord yesterday because I was pretty bored, and it was just OV goal predictions, like when he's going to beat the record. I said that it's going to happen at the end of March against the Sabres. I believe it was the 30th was the exact day. Someone said in response to that was they were hoping it's against the Blackhawks.
Well, don't we
they're
play
here.
them like around
April
late-
4? Maybe.
Ovechkin had his 800th goal against the Blackhawks. That would kind of come full circle if he broke the record against us. I'd be over that. I'd be betting on that.
Would you want him to do that though? Would you
Why
want
not?
to be
Let's
the
see
team?
history.
Yeah.
Let's
Come
see
on.
history.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's
you kidding me?
That's,
Our show would
that's
do
one
numbers,
everyone
probably.
could get by. It's not like we're fighting for anything. If anything, that'd be helping us out because that'd be in the thick of the lotto chase with us and the Sharks. They'd probably be helping the tank doing that. So I'd be all over that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I would like it to happen against the Blackhawks. Probably that post game show would probably do some numbers.
Yeah, I'd be cheering for Ovi and the Caps. Yeah, that game too.
I think it. You know who they play the last game of the season?
Who's that? Is that the Kings?
No, they play Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins in game number 82. I'm talking about the Caps.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
The Caps. They play.
Yeah.
They play Sid and the Pens. Game 82. I think it happens the last game of the
Oh,
season.
yeah, that would be perfect for the NHL.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it'll be cool. Like Gretzky's gonna like follow him around and stuff, like as he gets close, and because you never know if Ovi puts up a hat trick or 5 goals even in a game.
He always
like,
shows out against the Pens and Sid the Kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
It'll be
keep calling
cool.
him Sid the Kid when he's fucking 38, whatever.
Somebody said, "Is the fix in right now?" Like,
I'm not saying anything, but there are, anyway. It would be a good narrative. Yeah.
oh, that game is a home game for the Caps. I don't know which game.
Even better.
Yeah.
Ooh. Is that on national TV, that game?
I don't.
Do we know? Yeah. If it is, then you could
Yeah,
just already you could set your watch to it if that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
He's going to do it on an ESPN TNT game. He's not going to do it on a local game. Yeah.
No.
That's another reason I knew he'd get 800 against the Hawks, because that was like an ESPN game. Like I locked that in for my hat trick prediction and got some money off of that. So yeah,
Right.
little trick there for the betting people. I'm being Lee Grosman today.
Yeah. What do you know about betting? No, I'm kidding.
Let's tee up the weekend a little bit. 5 games tonight, 4 outside of the Hawks, but 5 tonight, 5 on Sunday, and sandwiched in between is a packed 15-game
Whoa.
schedule. I love it, dude. I love it. I told myself this season that, like, getting into the betting stuff a little bit, that every time that the league would play, like, 12 or more games, I'd try and pick each game in, like, a 12, 13, 14, 15 leg parlay. And that I think that I personally, this is the narcissism in me. I totally feel like that one day out of the season, at least, I could pick all 15 winners on a.
Yeah, well, Vegas will be encouraging you to continue to do that, and they will tell you, yes, Tassos, you are capable of hitting a
Give us
12
your
leg
money.
parlay. Yes.
I think I can, dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I can. I think I know. Right.
No, that's where the book gets, yeah.
We didn't talk about. I think it happened like it broke right after the show. We talked about the 2026 Winter Classic. We didn't talk about. I think it broke right after the 2026 Stadium Series. Will be in Tampa, right, versus Boston and
Oh, yeah.
Florida. So yeah, Florida's getting both outdoor games next year. So there you go. But anyway, back to what you were saying.
No, I think it's if you want to stick on it. I did my spiel on South Florida hockey growth and how much I love it, but one, you couldn't give the Panthers an outdoor game without giving the Lightning an outdoor game because the Panthers have been more recent as far as going from laughing stock of the National Hockey League to class of the National Hockey League, where Tampa Bay was actually never really the laughing stock of the National Hockey League except for in the 90s when they were playing at Tropicana Field, literally where the Rays play, and now they won the Stanley Cup early on. Now they added 2 more. They went to the final against the Blackhawks. That's been a team that really since Jeff Vinik took over, and I know he's transitioning out of power now, but like, you know, they've even taken it to like another level as far as marketing and growth and, you know, always being competitive and, you know, almost like ruthlessness too. Like I'm still like kind of hung up on Steven Stamkos, you know, like leaving and all of that.
That's not right.
You know, but even still, that's like, hey,
it is right. It is right. If you want to, and it ended up being.
Sure, they'd much rather have Jake Gensel than Steven Stamkos.
Yeah, it ended up being a good move. That's the thing. That's like what screwed the Hawks so much. If you look back on like the kind of bad contract, like Brent Seabrook, obviously a legend, massive part of you know the Stanley Cup teams, but it's like that contract was bad. Like you can't be so sentimental if you want to continue to win. And if you want to be sentimental, that's fine, but then you're not winning. So just it's like the Penguins. Like now they're going to be not good for probably a long time after Crosby and Malkin retire. So it's kind of, I guess, whatever you want as a fan. But yeah, if you want to hold on to guys for a long time and keep paying them while they're far past their primes, then enjoy it while it lasts, because it doesn't last long, and then you're going to have a bummer of a time after it's over. So
yeah, but yeah, just to, you know, wrap on outdoor game talk, because I'm outdoor gamed out from the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, no. Last thing I wanted to talk about outdoor games after that. Yeah, we have to rehash it. Man.
But you know, like I said, you couldn't give Florida one without giving Tampa Bay one, in my opinion. So
they should have just played each other.
But that's still not like Tampa Bay is like hosting it, you know.
I guess.
Raymond James Stadium, home of the Buccaneers.
Stupid.
Yeah. All right. Well, all right. Well, what intrigues you guys this weekend? You know, 15 games on deck tomorrow. Hockey night in Canada, Canucks Maple Leafs. That should be a good one. I don't know. Can you look up what the late Hockey night in Canada game is? I would assume it's this Kings Flames game, although you can never be too sure. You know, I don't know. Dallas Montreal, if that tickles your fancy. Boston Florida might. That one in the afternoon tomorrow. I don't know.
Lightning Devils, I think.
Colorado,
tickles.
Winnipeg.
Canucks Leafs.
Canucks Leafs is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Vegas, New York.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
You see the Islanders skunked Vegas yesterday? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I thought that was the biggest lock of all time, you know, picking Vegas to win that game.
That's how this shit works. That's how this hockey betting shit works. That's why you can't.
So random.
If you're going to bet on hockey, do not bet money lines. It's so stupid,
No, like
especially
player
during the
props and,
regular
like,
season.
over-unders.
Because there's absolutely no rhyme or reason to things happening, to certain teams winning. Like, we shouldn't have beaten Colorado. Like, that the McKinnon line was just not able to score. They somehow didn't score, and we beat them 3-1.
Upsets happen all the time in hockey, unlike, you know, other sports. Yeah.
Los Angeles Calgary is the late night game.
For hockey night, yeah, I figured. And then Sunday, you know, Kraken Red Wings, Stars Senators, Lightning Penguins should be a good one. So should the Wild and the Golden Knights, too. Did you see that giveaway? Who was it? Declan Chisholm of the Wild yesterday just gift wrapping a puck to Ross Colton in front of the net. Did you see that? Oh my gosh, just totally fumble fucked the puck.
Did y'all see the Trouba one? That was even more wild.
The Trouba one was hilarious.
Yeah, like, that was like
where he like banked it off the board. It was an alley-oop.
It's like a Tom and Jerry play. What was that?
Yeah.
That was funny.
So I'm actually seeing an interesting post on Instagram right now saying that Elliot Friedman on today's episode of 32 Thoughts believes that this year's tight playoff race is indication that it is time for an expanded playoff format.
They were saying that. I listened to it a bit on the way over here.
No. 16
disagree.
is perfect. We don't need more playoff teams than, you know, teams that don't make it. I think the way it works now is perfect with 8 teams in the divisional format. Maybe make it a conference for it, but I don't think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We don't need these play-in systems like the NBA. That's what the regular season's for. No, I'm not for that at all.
Yes, I'm so against it. Adding teams to the postseason is so bad because it completely, like, the regular season actually means nothing if you expand it. Because then it's like, for these teams that are actually good, it doesn't matter at all. You just have to get in whatever it is. You know, if it moves to 10 or 12, it's like, you just have to be not the worst team in the league, and it doesn't matter. I think if you're going to make a change to this postseason, go back to the 1 versus 8 so that you have different matchups. The problem with the postseason right now is that we're getting the same first round matchups
Oilers,
every single
Kings,
year,
and
it's stupid and it sucks. So go back to the 1 and 8. The solution is not expanding. Something they brought up on 32 Thoughts, an example that they use is like, college football playoffs. You know, it's awesome. They've expanded, and look at how awesome it is.
They had 4 teams
used to be the top 2 teams.
Yeah, different situation.
Well, beyond the fact that it was just 2 teams and then 4, you have 500 fucking D1 football programs. You have the playoffs are already half the teams in the NHL. That's enough.
Most sports, it's way less than that, right? Like baseball, for example.
Yeah, if you're going to expand the playoffs, you have to expand the league by the same measurement for it to be. Because then, you don't want the regular season to mean nothing. So I think I push back.
The business,
I guess
the
the
money.
way, the only argument, I agree with you guys that I'm not for an expanded playoffs and that, I would like them to go back to 1 versus 8. The only argument that I do see for it was like back when there were 23 teams in the National Hockey League. You know how many made the playoffs?
It's like 16 still.
16.
Yeah.
And now we're at 32 and 16 teams still make the playoffs. But I do think that's how it should be. Like, you only really want the top half of the teams. Like, I think the NBA is a total joke now. Like, I don't know. It would take a lot for me to like really watch an NBA game, especially since my favorite team is brutal.
I hate the NBA too. Yeah. The product has just gotten so bad.
Go Raps.
From league,
dude, I don't know, man.
Somebody in chat asked, we're quite literally in Wayne Gretzky's actual basement right now. For the person in chat that asked, definitely not in our studio.
Also, I know we've said that like, the second wild card spot race in the East is like really interesting because there's so many teams on top of each other. But it's like, I don't need to see really any of those teams in the postseason because I don't think any of them have what it takes to win the Stanley Cup. Like, if a team like Ottawa or Detroit or, Flyers, any of these teams, even if any of those guys make the postseason, none of them have a single chance of winning the Stanley Cup. I'm sorry, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. You might win a first round. You might win a round. You might get out of the first round. But you're not winning. None of those teams are winning 4 playoff series. So what's the point of expanding if it's games. Like it's not really adding anything?
Yeah, like back in the day, like with these 16 teams, like, the 80s, 90s, when most of the teams would make it, like you just have a bunch of just shitty teams in the playoffs. It's like, who wants to see that? Like the playoffs supposed to separates the men from the boys, right? Yeah.
Also, back to
that participation trophies.
Back to their point about the college football thing. In football, it's 1 game. You play 1 game. It's a 7-game series. Yeah. If you're adding teams, it's just so much more hockey.
I think it would just be like a play-in kind of.
So
I don't want these like wild card games.
Waters it down so much.
But then it becomes like the MLB where you do have
I think the
a
MLB
play-in
wild
game
card is stupid.
where you have a play-in game to see who's
you play
playing
162 games
and
to
then
play.
It's just
to have
one.
it come down to 1 9-inning game. I think that's ridiculous.
That's stupid too.
And
I think it's ridiculous.
To kind of go off your point, Lee, like the NBA when they expanded their draft or the playoffs a few years ago, I believe it's like now we're getting teams that are barely scraping by with a winning record, getting that 8th seed. And
you
it's
have
like,
teams below 500
I'm going to
making
look
the
up the NBA
postseason.
standings right now.
You actually, since it's 10 teams, you actually, and like one side of the league is actually better than the other. You literally have teams below 500 making the postseason. That's so stupid.
And somebody in chat brought up, you could see a Mickey Mouse, or not Mickey Mouse, I call it a Mickey Mouse run, but somebody in chat brought up Montreal's Linsanity run in the 2021 bubble. That was a completely different situation. That was COVID hockey, no fans, like completely different season, shortened season. You're only playing the teams in your division. Like that was a different situation than the normal season. So yeah.
And we've also heard so much conversation about like, is 82 games in the NHL season already too much? Like should we make it less games? And it's like, well, why are you talking about that if people are also talking about expanding the postseason? It's like then the regular season's games are even worse. So yeah, I'm very much so anti expanding the postseason.
Yeah, it makes the regular
season
season
go back to 1
mean
versus
less,
8.
and I feel like the playoffs it takes a little bit away from that as well. I feel like actually. Yeah.
So this is from a post from All Hockey Culture talking about this. So bear with me here. Number of teams.
Does it bear with you?
Number of teams within 7 points of a playoff spot on January 10th by year. Okay, so within 7 points of the playoffs on this day, January 10th by year. In 2019, you had 8 teams. In 2022, you had 9 teams. In 23, you had 8 teams. Last year, you had 11 teams, and this year you have 12 teams within 7 points of a playoff spot. So,
the parity has been noticeably better this year, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just in recency, I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I think the current system, it works. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't love it, and I also looked at the NBA standings. I feel like last year I looked at the NBA standings and there was like, teams in like the 3rd and 4th seed of the playoffs that had like below 500 records.
It's
and I was
insanity.
like, what is going on here? This year it's a little bit better. Every team in a playoff spot is at 500 or above 500 except for the Detroit Pistons, currently in the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference at 19-19. So, yeah. It's gotten better in the NBA. Still couldn't get me to watch an NBA game, seriously, but yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was a fun discussion to have here.
Yeah.
All right, boys, what else?
Go back to 1 versus 8. 1 versus 8.
Yeah, the conferences. Yeah,
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Why don't they? Why do they think it's fun to watch the Oilers pummel the Kings every single year in the first round?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not fun. Yeah, I mean, you already know what's going to happen. So maybe the 4th time will be the charm this
And
year.
then we're going to have the same combo of, Panthers, Lightning, Bruins, Maple Leafs, and it's like
Hurricanes. Well, not this year, but we've seen a lot of Hurricanes, Islanders the past few years too, but not this year. Yeah.
All right, I'm just like looking through right now. You mentioned the Ridley Gregg thing. I don't know. What else? Zach Hyman buying an OHL franchise. Does that...
What?
Zach
I didn't
Hyman,
hear about this.
Zach Hyman bought the Brantford Bulldogs of the OHL off of Senators owner Michael Andlauer, who was owner of the team.
Nick Lardis' team in Van Acker, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
I guess him and his family, Hyman and his family, are buying the team. I always love when players do that. I think they should
Get
do that.
involved in the
it
business.
happens a lot in soccer. So
Where players go back and buy like their youth clubs,
yeah, or just like random,
random teams.
And
Yeah. I think it's cool. I'd love to see, because it juices up, people, I don't know what people think of like the Canadian Hockey League, but like a lot of those teams, unless you're like the London Knights, like a lot of those teams lose money every year, like it's not necessarily a profitable endeavor to own an OHL or WHL or Q franchise. Like you're not like making bags off of owning those. Like there's a lot of empty seats sometimes.
Yeah.
Like
Hard to get butts and seats, Sudbury, Shoresy. Yeah.
seriously though, like that's a legit sentiment. So, I thought that was cool. I don't know.
yeah, we'll see how it works out for him. Not to be pessimistic, I don't know. My dad's like job is like he helps people buy and sells businesses. So growing up, I would always be like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to like own said business? And he's like, well, Lee, those are very hard. They don't really ever work out, And so I don't know. I guess I'm coming from that background of just like you hear somebody acquiring a business or a company, you're like, oh, that's smart. But it's like, well, if he's still playing and the team is not very good and they're kind of just bleeding cash every single year, it's like not
Probably
really
more sentimental than anything, frankly.
Silence, Lee. Mr. Grosman is talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Somebody said in chat too that they don't have the endorsements or the sponsorships. It's a lot of like car dealerships sponsoring OHL franchises and stuff like that.
Sponsors.
Yeah, please sponsor us. Holy cow. If you have a business and you're watching this right now, DM me ASAP, please. I don't care. We'll put your logo anywhere. We'll tattoo it on Lee's chest.
Yes.
If you pay us enough.
We'll put that on YouTube too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Calgary Flames to make the playoffs.
What? There's still time for a
be
spot,
all
aren't
tatted
they?
up.
They're
by
not
the time.
making the playoffs.
Yeah, what-
I mean, you said if they make the playoffs, they're getting a tattoo.
We're halfway through the season. They're still in the mix there. Yeah, we may have been. It could still happen.
Yeah, and also when we hit 1,000 subscribers, Lee is getting a tattoo.
They're 1
too,
point
so.
out. Yeah.
All right, that's all I got. I don't know, fellas. We got a post game. We got a live stream tomorrow.
Yeah, they got plenty on the deck here. Yeah.
We got a lot of CHR.
This one might set the record for longest CHR show. Yeah.
I don't know. I think
Or not
so.
the live streams for the games. That might be longer. Yeah.
Oh, the live streams are like
Yeah,
4
that's a
hours
different
long.
thing. Like longest Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely the longest Monday, Wednesday, Friday show we've had. We also got 2 more people that entered our Wayne Gretzky basement item giveaway during the show. So thank you to who entered. Entries are still valid until 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, that being Central Time. So get your entries in if you would like to be entered. We will be picking a winner Monday morning and announcing it on the show, and you'll probably get a DM from us too. So keep entering that. It helps us out a lot. Keep subscribing to this YouTube channel. The growth here has been outstanding. Following us on Instagram, leaving a 5-star rating and review if you are listening to this on an audio platform that is Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really means a lot. Live stream tomorrow against the Edmonton Oilers. Hawks game tonight. Post game afterward. Remember, it'll be a little later than usual. It won't be right after the game. But yeah, so be on the lookout for that. You'll see the links. And yeah, thank you again to Greg Boysen for stopping by. Everybody go check out his Substack. We're all going to go sign up for it. And yeah, that was really kind of him to come by our studio again. Just, we're going to keep thanking him. So yeah, we'll get him back on in the future too. That was a lot of fun. All right. See everybody tonight.